Zhuo Fan has walked into the 100-pill meeting like a servant with something to prove, but the flame he carries is not something ordinary masters can measure. The crowd sees an underdog, the rivals see a target, and the hidden powers see a threat beginning to awaken. Subscribe now if you want cultivation battles, alchemy, and ruthless domination, because one Azure flame is about to change how everyone looks at him. In the Demonic Emperor Part 6, the competition becomes a battlefield. Zhuo Fan faces masters who think status can decide victory, but when his true methods surface, the arena begins to understand that this servant has been hiding something far more dangerous than talent. The Drifting Flowers Arena was more than 100 meters tall, spanning a few kilometers, the largest building in Drifting Flowers City. This was where the 100-pill meeting was being held. It was divided into 3 layers in a circular shape. The first layer was where the competitors met. It was the stage where thousands of cauldrons spread across the entire floor. The second layer was for the second and third-rated clans who came to spectate. The third layer was for the glorious clans of Tianyu Empire. This layer hosted terraces, which acted as stands for the honorable guests of the 7 noble houses. Chu Qingcheng and her 2 overseers stood in the host terrace, furthest from the arena. The Bodhi root was placed on the pedestal, the prize of today's competition. The winner would have the glory of stepping forward and snatching Drifting Flowers Edifice's greatest treasure. None wanted to admit it, but they were clear it would be none other than Vicious Pill King. Is everything ready? Did that old dog notice? Chu Qingcheng's eyes flashed. Peony Overseer nodded. I tasked the ones I trust the most with this. That stage contains a dragon prison array. Not even the old dog can escape it once he enters. What of Huangpu Qingyun? Chu Qingcheng looked to the eastern stand with worry. The eastern stand also has a barrier placed. They won't get the chance to intervene when the time comes, so we will finally settle the score with that old dog. Then I can rest easy. Chu Qingcheng sighed. Senior sisters, this old dog isn't to be trifled with. Even if we 3 attack together, we may kill him, but we will also shortly after succumb to his poison. I don't mind dying, just that senior sisters will end up accompanying me. Qingcheng, you don't need to say it. Iris Overseer patted her hand. We have promised grandmother to help you without fail. As Drifting Flowers Edifice is about to die, then let it die with a bang. We will tell the world that women are not easy targets. Chu Qingcheng was moved and squeezed their hands. The 3 shared deep feelings for each other. Why haven't the other overseers arrived yet? Chu Qingcheng found it unusual. The other 2 were also puzzled. Suddenly, a wizened voice followed by familiar figures appeared before them. Ha ha ha, Edifice Lord Chu, are you looking for them perhaps? The 3's eyes were wide in shock. Behind Vicious Pill King stood 8 ladies in different colors and veils on their faces. They were none other than 8 of the Drifting Flowers Edifice's 15 edifices overseers. The 8 avoided looking at the 3, lowering their heads in shame. Why you all? She knew they were under Yan Song's poison, but never thought they would stand in the open by that old dog's side. This was a naked betrayal. Peony Overseer was livid and couldn't even find words to speak. Chu Qingcheng rested her hands on the Peony Overseer to soothe her anger. Her tone was flat towards the 8 women. I feel your pain and I don't blame you. I just hope you will take care of yourselves, leaving this dreaded place as far behind as possible. Edifice Lord, the 8 were sobbing but did not show their appreciation for her words because of Vicious Pill King's threat. Humph, what a soft Edifice Lord. However, I wonder if you'll show the same softness to them. Vicious Pill King snickered and clapped 3 times. 5 figures flashed and the trio paled. They were the rest of the overseers. Of all the overseers, everyone sided with Pill King Hall, except for Peony and Iris overseers. They each had their reasons, but this was without a doubt the true power of Drifting Flowers Edifice coming out in full force. Chu Qingcheng shivered and could no longer keep calm. She was unaware Vicious Pill King was so thorough in stripping them of their power, they had no way to even fight back. Overseer Chunyu, you are the oldest among us. How is it that even you, Peony Overseer, glared at one of the 5 people? The person was calm, however. Drifting Flowers Edifice's power waned and I could only look elsewhere for safety. I urge you to find your own and not do something you should not. At her odd words, Chu Qingcheng looked doubtful at Peony Overseer. Peony Overseer bit her lip, filled with regret and anguish. Forgive me, Qingcheng. I have trusted that matter to her. I thought she was still trustworthy, but Chu Qingcheng trembled and her body swayed. Despair swallowed her eyes. She knew what Peony Overseer was referring to, the array to counter Vicious Pill King when he got the Bodhi root. The one tasked with it turned out to be a traitor. It was clear the Vicious Pill King was privy to all their plans. Their last chance to end this old dog had failed. He, I already told you. Drifting Flowers Edifice is under my complete control. All your efforts are useless. Why not spare yourselves the ordeal? Vicious Pill King cackled and waved his hand. clattering resounded as sparkling spirit stones landed at their feet. They were the ones to be used for the dragon prison array. By the way, I also managed to undo the barrier on the eastern stand. We can't have the second young master watch the 100 pill meeting from behind a barrier, now can we? You've been most rude to Regent Estate, ha ha ha. Vicious Pill King descended the stairs laughing, with the traitorous overseers having little choice but to follow with their heads down. This made all onlookers watch slack-jawed. Why were 13 overseers following the Vicious Pill King? Any man with a brain would know that the Drifting Flowers edifice had now lost most of their power. Ha ha ha, Edifice Lord Chu, see how I take your precious treasure through legitimate means. Vicious Pill King laughed at the bottom of the stairs. Chu Qingcheng's eyes felt like they were in a fog. She clenched her fists so hard that scarlet blood flowed. Peony Overseer was overcome by guilt as tears flowed unimpeded. King Cheng hit me. It's all my fault for ruining everything. Peony Overseer, how could you be so dazed to let others know of our plan? Chu Qingcheng stood there frozen. It felt like the sky collapsed, her heart in pieces. Iris Overseer sent a reproaching glare to Peony Overseer and sighed. What would be the point in pointing fingers when the matter was done? Vicious Pill King achieved victory in the most anticlimactic way possible. All that was left was for them to wait for him to strut and claim his prize. Old Dog Yan's song, don't think it's that easy to take our treasure. A shout echoed and Yan's song looked over only to snicker. I wonder who it was, but then I saw it was only you, old hag. It was Drifting Flowers Edifice's best alchemist, Aunt Tao. Aunt Tao flashed beside Chu Qingcheng and said, Girl, don't cry, we haven't lost yet. Humph, empty words. When I last saw you 2 decades ago, you were but a 6th grade alchemist while I am a 7th. After all this time, you would still come up short of my skill even if you can refine a 7th grade pill. Humph, that remains to be seen. Time can change anything. Don't think you'll get anywhere near the Bodhi route with me around. Vicious Pill King mocked. Old hag, show me if all those years were of any help. Vicious Pill King flicked his sleeve and left with his entourage. Chu Qingcheng looked at Aunt Tao with hope. Aunt Tao, can you truly win? Aunt Tao let out a downcast sigh, her previous vigor sapped. Silly girl, I was only pretending. The Vicious Pill King is indeed the best alchemist in Tianyu. You're saying we're hopeless then? Chu Qingcheng's eyes were now dead, with the last burning kindling of hope put out. Aunt Tao felt pained as she spoke. That may not be the case. Regardless of how strong an alchemist is, failing in refining speaks louder. If an alchemist is distracted in mid-refining, then the pill would most likely end up in failure. Not even Vicious Pill King with decades of refining experience could escape such predicament. You're saying there's still hope. Chu Qingcheng's eyes sparkled, as well as the other 2 overseers. Aunt Tao's heart could not bear their pure eyes, but forced a nod. Though she knew Vicious Pill King's decades of experience forged him a steady mind, how could he make such a rudimentary mistake? In the case she failed 10 times at refining, Vicious Pill King may never fail even once. Sighing, Aunt Tao dragged her body down the stairs. I will go prepare. Don't be discouraged. We still have a chance. All this senior could do was give these young ladies words of comfort, even if she herself did not believe in them. Her word had the desired effect, and Chu Qingcheng looked livelier. The trio watched Aunt Tao with hope. Yet this last hope of theirs was an old woman walking to certain death while also having one foot in the grave. After the courtesy had been being slowly dispensed at the 100-pill meeting, the clan's delegates stepped in the widespread arena. Meanwhile, the guests had slowly gathered and the audience seated. Regent Estate, Hell Valley, Pill King Hall, and Mary Woods were guided to the eastern stand. Huanpu Qingyun watched the prize on the pedestal, already sporting a winner's attitude, and smiled. On the other hand, the Veiled Dragon Pavilion, Sword Marquis Abode, and the ones who stood in favor of Drifting Flowers Edifice were guided to the western stand. Long Ju was with Zai Tianyang and the rest, watching the endless stream of people with a critical eye. However, there was no sign of Zhuo Fan. If this kid doesn't show, who will deal with the Vicious Pill King? Seconds ticked by, then minutes, as the arena was gradually filled with contestants. Oh, if it isn't Master Huang. You're also competing? Yeah, everyone aims for higher standing. Drifting Flowers Edifice's 100-pill meeting happens once every few decades. How could I not come? Ha ha ha, I'm the same. I hope to rise in fame as well. Even if I cannot enter Drifting Flowers Edifice, I can at least make an impression on some of the first-rate clans. Hey, isn't that Master Zhang? It's an honor to meet you. Oh, Master Chen, such an honor. The competition had yet to begin and the contestants were greeting each other. Suddenly, an elderly with a powerful aura stepped in, with a split mustache on the corners of his mouth. He glowed with confidence. Before his presence, everyone halted what they were doing. Hey, aren't you the head alchemist of the Ximen clan of Thriving City, Liu Yizhen? Ximen clan is a first-rate clan and you're even their head alchemist. Why on earth did you come here? Yeah, everyone has heard of your skill already. You earned second place at the Great Alchemy Tournament in the Imperial Capital. You were but seconds behind completing your refining, only to end up forfeiting the first place to the Pill King Hall's genius disciple, Yan Fu. You are already well known, so why come to this competition among nameless juniors? Indeed, you are a famous grandmaster, a glorious fifth-grade alchemist, so why come to this competition? You should give us all a chance too. Everyone was complaining when Liu Yizhen showed up, yet the elder had a faint smile and a poised face as if he relished every bit of rancor aimed at him. Ha ha ha, I may have a bit of a name in alchemy, but I still have so much to learn. I have come today not to seek fame, but to open my eyes and learn from everyone. As if, who are you kidding? You clearly came to enter Drifting Flower's edifice. Everyone here knows Ximen is great, but they are still not one of the 7 noble houses. He was looked down on and despised by everyone. The result of the contestants' deep-seated fear. Liu Yizhen was greatly known throughout the empire for his alchemy. They would have no chance now that he was here. More and more reproachful gazes settled on him, but he responded with a haughty attitude as though he was the king of the world. Settle down, everyone, a sweet voice soothing to the ear came. It was followed by a young lady in a violet dress who floated down from the sky. Silence ensued so deeply that the clamor of before seemed more like an illusion. The lady nodded, pleased, greetings and welcome competitors to our Drifting Flowers Edifice's 100-pill meeting. I am the judge of today's competition, Zioya. Clap. Zioya clapped lightly and a string of demure girls appeared in a line, with each settling at every cauldron. This time, every participant will be accompanied by one of our disciples to prevent cheating. Drifting Flowers Edifice is truly great, settling every detail. Liu Yizhen was the first to gush praises and give his thumbs up. Indeed, with the beauty around, refining will be a breeze. This young master appreciates it, ha ha ha. They all sighed in admiration. Only one of the 7 houses could employ such a method, to have thousands of alchemists paired with one disciple each. Zioya extended her hands at the 20 most prominent cauldrons. Everyone has different masteries, and alchemists are no different. These 20 cauldrons are for the most outstanding alchemists. If you are confident, please stand in one of them. The arena was quiet. The majority of the thousands of alchemists here were of equal skill. There was no way to know who was the best. Except for a few superior figures around, who could say they were in the top 20 in this group. Liu Yizhen twirled his mustache, his face beaming with pride. Ha ha ha, alchemists may appear to be refining on the surface, but they are actually refining their mind. Without even a bit of confidence, will one be able to make any passable pill? Grandmaster Liu is right. We don't know who among us is the best, but he is definitely among them. Someone instantly spoke for Liu Yizhen. Laughing towards the sky with pride, Liu Yizhen continued, I am not conceited, only confident as an alchemist. To refine great pills, one must believe he is the best alchemist in the world. As such, I will not shy from my duty. Liu Yizhen strutted to the first cauldron while laughing. But his third step was welcomed by a cold shout, You're in my way, beat it. Yan Fu stomped by him. Liu Yizhen faltered and his face twitched, cursing inside, damn it, why is this rotten prick here as well? Why join the 100-pill meeting when he's already in Pill King Hall? Isn't he the winner of the Great Alchemy Tournament in the Imperial Capital, Yan Fu of Pill King Hall? Why is he here? Someone recognized him and also peeked at Liu Yizhen's frozen state, whispering, Grandmaster Liu, your opponent is here. What if, ha ha ha, Yan Fu is indeed an alchemy genius seen once a century. He managed to win last time, so let him have this one while I take the second cauldron. I truly admire Grandmaster Liu's modesty. Liu Yizhen's light tone earned the crowd's praise. A true grandmaster, but how would they know Liu Yizhen was cursing Yan Fu in his heart? Wretched spawn, you got ahead of me in the Imperial Capital, and now you followed me to the 100-pill meeting. Are you being hard on me on purpose? In the middle of his inner rant, an aged voice came. If you're not going, stand aside. An elderly shoved him, slowly moving forward. That green face got everyone scared. Liu Yizhen almost jumped in fright. Who is that old woman? Such a scary face. Is she also an alchemist? Liu Yizhen watched her figure dumbfounded. Why her too? Grandmaster Liu, do you know her? Liu Yizhen was close to cursing again. Of course I do. 30 years ago, when I was a second-grade alchemist, Sage Dr. Tao made a name for herself as a fifth-grade alchemist. She is as famous as the vicious Pill King. But isn't she the head alchemist of the Drifting Flowers edifice? What is she doing here? His words spread shock to others. There was actually someone equally renowned as Vicious Pill King. No one had seen this coming. The small 100-pill meeting was now a gathering of experts. But Liu Yizhen's forlorn figure eased their shock. He, Grandmaster Liu, don't be so down. Isn't there a third spot? It definitely belongs to Grandmaster Liu. Liu Yizhen took a deep breath and stood up straighter as his eyes spat out flames of rage. It is as you said. I may not be the first or the second, but winners always come in threes. Even in third place, it will not be the least bit lacking from the first two. Grandmaster Liu, that's just self-comforting. They now realized their words of comfort were wasted on Grandmaster Liu, could contort anything to be positive. Don't block my way, take a hike, then another aged man shouted. A green figure passed through the crowd, his eyes sending shivers through their bodies. Vicious Pill King Yan Song, this scared them witless. Vicious Pill King, the head alchemist of Pill King Hall, was joining the 100 Pill meeting as well. The hell is he doing here? For heaven's sake, you're the best in the empire, for crying out loud. Can you be any more obnoxious? Grandmaster Liu, your third place seems to be gone. Someone sympathized with Liu Yizhen's situation. His lips trembled and Liu Yizhen felt more wrong than ever watching the three up there. Just then someone ran into him hard, ruining his calm and lofty image as he broke out a string of curses. We are all damn famous here, all right. Why in goddamned heaven are all of you taking part in this competition? Stealing my seat, you're going too damn far. The crowd froze, their faces twitching. They all thought to themselves, you're one to talk. Liu Yizhen ended up in fourth place, behind Yan Fu, Tao Danyang, and the Vicious Pill King. In spite of all that, he accepted his spot without any complaints. As for who was behind him, he had other more important things on his mind right now. The rest of the spots were taken by people of renowned and unquestionable skill. Zhuo Fan smiled. Everyone else, please move to the area in accordance with your clan's strength. The first-rate clans in front, second-rate clans in the middle, and third-rate clans in the back, please take your positions. This method also showed their relevant alchemy skills. It was a common fact first-rate clans were better than second, who were better than the third. It was also made easy for the great clans in the stands to see their abilities. It would have been an embarrassment if the third-rate clans would have started making protests. Drifting Flowers Edifice's consideration for everyone earned the admiration of many great clans. The alchemists had nothing to say, moving to their spots. Now that thousands of alchemists were in the arena, they were ready for the competition to begin. A bronze cauldron was laid before them, with a gorgeous Drifting Flowers Edifice disciple beside it. With everyone seated, Zhuo Fan smiled as she explained the details of the 100 Pill meeting. The competition is divided into 3 rounds. Contestants will be eliminated in each round, and only the top 20 alchemists will be worthy of stepping onto the final round, where we will finally decide on who is the Pill King. In other words, Drifting Flowers Edifice only cared about the first 20 alchemists. The participants were sporting serious faces. They knew it would be hard, but it was not that disastrously hard. Of the thousands of alchemists, only 20 would be allowed entry in the final round. These 20 were without a doubt the best alchemists the Tianyu Empire had to offer. With their spots set, their position would be unshakable. It could be said that not even 300 rounds would be enough for the other contestants to get a chance to earn one of the 20 spots. The participants were vexed, while the 20 on the stage looked on with smiles of pride. Zhuo Fan had a flash of contempt in her eyes as she continued. This meeting has gathered a wide variety of renowned alchemists from every corner of the empire. For this, Drifting Flowers Edifice prepared their most prized treasure as a reward for the winner. Zhuo Fan clapped and 2 disciples brought a red wooden box on the pedestal. Zhuo Fan flipped it open. Something akin to a green root appeared before everyone. What was even more astonishing was that the root throbbed like a heart. Drifting Flowers Edifice's Bodhi root, none saw this coming. Drifting Flowers Edifice was staking their most amazing treasure in this meeting. Only a handful knew the true reason behind it, squinting when the item in question appeared on stage. Elder Yan, you must get it. Huangpu King Yun clenched his fists in the eastern stand, eyeing the root with yearning on the first stage. Vicious Pill King licked his lips, his heart throbbing to get his hands on it. He knew it was real too. All he had to do was win, and the Bodhi root was his. Humph, old dog, with me here, don't even dream of getting it, Tao Danyang snorted. Snickering, Vicious Pill King mocked, just you. How? Liu Yizhen realized now why Drifting Flowers Edifice's 100 Pill meeting attracted these 2 towering figures of alchemy in the empire. They all came for this treasure. Liu Yizhen wiped his sweat and cried in his heart. Forget about even winning against them, even if fantasy became reality and he managed to win with 2 tigers glaring at him, taking it would be a one-way ticket to the underworld. Curses. I shouldn't have come here. Liu Yizhen regretted it until his insides turned green. It was too late now, though. Now that he was on stage, he'd lose his name if his performance was subpar. He considered himself fortunate that he was not on their level and losing wasn't that much of a big deal. Liu Yizhen sighed happily for the first time in life that he was doomed to lose. His thoughts would have widened no few pairs of eyes. Grandmaster Liu, didn't you say just now that one has to be confident when refining? Why are you quitting before even starting? Each had their own thoughts, yet most decided to take a step back on this. In such an ardent competition, they didn't have the nerve to join. Zhuo noticed the prevalent atmosphere but ignored it. The target of the first round is a first-grade pill. Those that already took a step back shivered with confidence. Is there anyone who can't make it? Why the hell would we come here if we can't make one damned first-grade pill? Zhuo continued, a first grade is simple, but the method isn't, as well as the efficiency. In this first round, you will be competing with your refining skills. The alchemist must accomplish the refining of a first-grade pill as soon as possible. Only the quickest 100 can advance. What? This crushed their kindling hope to dust. A competition involving thousands of participants had the first round eliminating most of them. Was it really necessary to be so cruel? I have with me a little bell, as do the drifting flowers edifice's disciples. One ring gives the start and another the end. And begin, ding, Zhuo directly rang her bell. The competitors were startled, then scrambled to get out their yuan qi flame and begin refining. The top 20 alchemists sneered, not at all hurried. It was more accurate to call this round a test of one's mind than that of speed. Getting worked up over such a minor thing, not even a third-grade alchemist would be able to refine a first-grade pill. A bunch of morons, Vicious Pill King laughed coldly. His hand revealed a scarlet flame and he threw 6 ingredients inside. Under the naked eye, each ingredient was refined. Every one of the 20 alchemists could do it, albeit not at the same speed. Liu Yizhen sighed, he is truly the best in the empire. Even when refining a first-grade pill, it shows how skillful he is. Tao Danyang was the second fastest. She wasn't at all pleased but was aware of her limits. Vicious Pill King mocked her. I only used half of my skill, just thought you should know. It's best you give up now if you can't do even this. Stop wasting your energy. Humph. Tao Danyang snorted. She knew it was a trick of his to shake her heart. Up on the terrace, Chu Qingcheng's group was watching the two closely. They were worried since the difference in their speed was so great. Urgent footsteps approached as an elderly shouted, Chachu, where's the kid who was with you? Chu Qingcheng turned to find Long Jiu, Zai Tianyang and Jian Suifeng watching her group in anxiety. It was too dangerous here and I made him leave. Chu Qingcheng watched them strangely, not knowing what their connection was with Song Yu to be so worried about him. But her words threw them in a panic. What? He left. Then who is competing with Vicious Pill King? Zai Tianyang asked, unsettled. This baffled Chu Qingcheng and the two overseers. How could a mere third-rate clan young master be a match for Vicious Pill King? Humph, forget about facing Vicious Pill King. When that brat left, he didn't even waste time. Peony Overseer recalled Zhuo's attitude with coldness. Long Jiu's group was gloomy. Zhuo Fan ran, so what were they staying around here for as patsies? He was the one who mentioned allying and they even offended Regent Estate for his sake. Yet he was the first to run away without hesitation. Bastard. Did he just sell me out again? Zai Tianyang frowned and spat in rage. Then a sudden sobbing came. It was Zhuo Dandan and the Dong siblings running up the stairs. Chu Qingcheng was anxious. Why are you back? Sister Qingcheng, master. Darling left us behind and rushed back. Did you see him? What? Song Yu came back as well. Chu Qingcheng's group raised their eyebrows in shock. Before they could find out more, Zai Tianyang jumped in. Sister-in-law, you're saying that Punk didn't leave and came back instead. Ha ha ha, he didn't sell me out. Where is he? Tell me. Zhuo Dandan didn't even get to reply to the sister-in-law part, as Zai Tianyang was immediately actively searching for Zhuo Fan through the thousands of participants. Damn it. The Vicious Pill King's almost done. Iris Overseer gnashed her teeth. They all focused on the old man, and indeed, the Vicious Pill King's pill needed only a few seconds more. Tao Danyang, however, needed a minute. They all knew what that meant. The first round had its winner, and their moods sank. Tao Danyang couldn't gain the advantage even when refining a first-grade pill, which spoke volumes of how their competition would be when refining higher-graded pills. Chu Qingcheng's heart sank to the bottom of the abyss. Her final hope was fading. Yanfu saw Vicious Pill King's pill and bowed, Master, you're the best there is. Naturally, Vicious Pill King laughed, throwing a mocking glance towards Tao Danyang. A ding sounded at that moment. Far in the third-rated clan's area, the bell rang. There was someone here who could refine faster than the best alchemist in the empire. Who? Whoosh, they turned to see where the ringing came from. But what appeared before them was a black-robed figure with the heaven-toppling pill words inscribed on it. Chu Qingshan. Yan Fu's eyelids trembled as he cried out. Qingshan. Chu Qingcheng's eyes were glazed. Long Jiu and Jian Suifeng sported a wide grin, then laughed to their heart's content, having a heavy stone relieved from their shoulders. Ha ha ha, Chachu, you're wrong. That's not Qingshan but that brat. It was now that a crisp voice came from that direction. Nitrain City's Song Clan, Song Yu, first-grade pill has been completed. What Song Clan? Who on earth is that? We've never heard of it. Shock after shock, every single one of the people there stood speechless. a nameless alchemist hailing from a nameless clan stole the first spot in the 100 pill meeting's first round, stepping over the best alchemist in the empire, the vicious pill king. Just who is this Song Yu? What's his? Did he cheat? How did he refine so quickly? Under everyone's admiring gazes, Zhuo Fan swaggered from the third area and onto the first spot. That narcissistic attitude was as if he was on top of the world and asking for a smacking. Thankfully, this was Drifting Flower's edifice, or the thousands of participants would have jumped him. Go ahead, enjoy it while you can. Look, it's darling, Zhuo Dandan cried, and the Dong siblings whipped their heads. Chu Qingcheng frowned and grumbled, damn brat, why did I get you to leave early? So you could return. Despite her harsh words, her heart was filled with warmth. This showed he was not the heartless man he led her to believe. In her most desperate hour, he chose to return and spend this last part of their journey together. The other two overseers' anger for him went up in smoke. At least this man has a conscience. On the eastern stand, Huangpu Qingyun glared at Zhuo Fan with the full intent to kill, clenching his fists in anger. Second young master wants that brat's life. It will be simple to do. Just let us get the Bodhi root first, second young master, then I will deal with him personally. Hell Valley's fifth elder saw his anger and jumped at the chance to earn his favor before Vicious Pill King stole this one. Huangpu Qingyun only nodded. His hatred for Zhuo Fan seeped into his bones. Not only did he steal his wife, but he talked back to him at the feast. Yet again, this man was going against him. However, killing him himself was beneath his standing. The key was that he did not wish to earn Chu Qingcheng's resentment. He still hoped for the day when his betrayal would be forgotten and she would return to him. But this man suddenly showed up, preventing that from ever happening. Zhuo Fan didn't notice that two pairs of eyes watched hopefully as he slowly strutted to the first stage. He was afraid he didn't garner enough hatred, finishing his act with a sidelong glance at the Vicious Pill King. Not even Vicious Pill King could stay calm after such obvious contempt. So he poured all his energy into finishing the refining. He relaxed after the ding was heard next to him and bore his eyes towards Zhuo Fan. You little shit, what the hell are you staring at? Wanna die? Are you threatening me? Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow and kicked at the alchemy table next to the cauldron and cursed. What do you think? I'm afraid of you? What an idiot, clamor erupted. Where did he come from? Where does he get the nerve to curse the Vicious Pill King? Even the other 19 alchemists had to reel from this, almost ruining their refining. Goddammit, where the hell did this brat pop out from? He's too much. The rage got to Vicious Pill King so badly that he was turning from green to purple. If not for fear of this indirect strike unnerving his mind, he would have long slapped the punk into the grave. Vicious Pill King took deep breaths to calm his anger. He couldn't let impulsiveness ruin his plans. Punk, you came to pick a fight with me, and I would have killed you where you stand if not for reasons I cannot say. Reason. You dare talk about goddamn reason? Bam, Zhuo Fan kicked at the alchemy table again, pissed. Old fart, step aside. You're in my spot. Startled, Vicious Pill King was stunned for a moment. But Zhuo spoke in an apologetic tone. Please excuse us, Elder Yan. Young Master Song Yu has earned the right to this table. Your ranking is one step lower. Hear that? Now shoo. Zhuo Fan kicked the alchemy table again. Vicious Pill King took deep breaths, working his hardest to calm down. Wretched bastard, you were just lucky. I will be back the next round. Stepping to the second table, Vicious Pill King cursed. Moving is moving, so what's with the kicking? Today's generation has gone out of control. What's it to you? I was kicking my own table. Old farts these days are too short-tempered, Zhuo Fan said as he stood at the number one spot. Vicious Pill King reeled at his comeback. His mouth moved but didn't say a word while his heart was consumed by hatred. This punk's tongue is too sharp. There's no end talking to him. Once this is over, I'll settle the score. The two looked like they fought over a mere alchemy table, but they were engaged in a battle of the mind. Using this chance to throw the other off his game. No matter how fine and amazing one's refining skill was, it was useless in the hands of one with a frail mind. Vicious Pill King was very close to having his inner peace ruined when the self-important Zhuo Fan strutted in. But as he was a veteran in alchemy, he noticed it fast, working hard and quelling the anger in his heart. The competition resumed. After Yan Fu finished his pill, Tao Danyang followed closely behind. Then came Liu Yizhen and the rest of the 20 alchemists. As time passed, more and more finished and the ringing never stopped. As the ringing increased, the hearts of the competitors became more chaotic. Even a first-grade pill had a high chance of failure. The many that failed started refining again in annoyance, but time was running out. Ding, the 100th ring sounded, and Zhuo drew the first round to a close by eliminating the rest. The ones who were hard at work in refining froze. They doused their flames and dragged their feet up to where the audience were. There were many third-grade alchemists here, but their mind was still lacking, failing to refine even the most basic pill. Now the first 100 participants entered round 2, with one tiny detail off. It wasn't vicious pill master in front, but a third-rate clan young master, Zhuo Fan. As a result, the 20th alchemist was kicked from his table. Goddammit, who said the 20 spots were set in stone? It's only been the first round and I got kicked by a black horse. Even the vicious pill king lost and was now in second place. And all the others along the line as well. Who knows how many great alchemists are getting kicked out this round. Whether or not black horses were in vogue in this competition, the audience watched on enraptured for the next kicking. Judge Vicious Pill King called Zioya's attention. I would like to inspect the kid's pill and check if it was a first-grade pill. I still find it hard to believe someone can beat me at the speed of refining. Yeah, make sure he is not cheating. This got the crowd wild. Vicious Pill King was the best alchemist in Tianyu. It was unbelievable how someone just popped in and dethroned him, especially when it was a rotten punk. He's been weaned just for a few days and he already mastered alchemy. How is that possible? The last one that barely got into the second round was also voicing his complaints, asking for justice. Zioya had no choice as she said to Zhuo Fan, "Young Master Song, is it possible for you to refine one more time, letting them see your speed?" Casting a side glance, Zhuo Fan deadpanned, "No, thank you." The crowd went hysterical. "Look, he's scared. He doesn't have the nerve to refine another one for us. I knew he smelled fishy. How could he beat so many great alchemists? He's done for. Drifting Flowers Edifice doesn't tolerate cheaters." All denounce him while Vicious Pill King and his disciple watched with a cold smile. Tao Danyang shook her head. She knew the kid wanted to help Drifting Flowers Edifice, but to get caught cheating meant that not even she could save him. Child, one's mind must remain true and not practice vile methods. You will be the one to suffer in the end. Tao Danyang gave earnest guidance and turned to Zioya, change his position from the first to the last. Zioya nodded to the cheer of the crowd. But Vicious Pill King sneered. Cheating has been found in the 100-pill meeting and you're only eliminating him. Since when did Drifting Flowers Edifice's rule become so lax? The place got rowdy again. Zioya now turned her attention to Chu Qingcheng. Chu Qingcheng sighed and shook her head. This brat caused endless troubles. Vicious Pill King now had a legitimate reason to end him. Escape looked bleak. Long Jiu's group was stunned. A cunning guy like him could make such a mistake. Watching them all with a cold eye, Zhuo Fan yawned. "What gave you the crazy idea that I cheated? I only said that I won't do it again." "That just means you're scared." Yanfu coldly smiled, feeling good kicking someone when they were down. Zhuo Fan gave a patronizing glance to all of them. "A bunch of idiots. Don't you know I had a gorgeous lady next to me the whole time? How could I cheat? You only need to listen to how yours truly refined it and you'll know why it took so little time." Zhuo Fan beckoned towards his previous table. "Gorgeous, please tell them the name of my pill and get them acquainted with real skill." Whoosh. They all then whipped their heads towards his supervisor. A 16-year-old girl stood at that table, still young and unaware of the true world. With so many looking at her, she couldn't help but blush and fidget. "Zio Lion, you don't need to be so nervous. Just speak up," Zioya smiled. Zio Lion regained some of her calm by taking a deep breath, but looking at Zhuo Fan's pill in her hand, she got redder, not from shyness, but at how hard it was to describe. She didn't know what was wrong with her at the time that she judged this pill to be first grade. She now felt embarrassed when she thought about how she declared her verdict. Despite all that, she had no choice but to proceed. Young Master Song refined an appetite pill. She then lifted it way up high, letting its fragrance drift about. However, the crowd was silent before bursting out in laughter. "Ha ha ha, is that even a pill? He is a cheat after all. That thing is not even a first-grade pill. They give it to children to help digestion. Is that what you call a pill? I can make a handful of them in less than a minute. I won't accept it if he wins with this." The crowd was getting rowdy again. Zio Lion was scared. Because this was her judgment, she couldn't avoid punishment. She turned her hateful glare at Zhuo Fan, blaming him. Any random quack on the streets could make this appetite pill. Why did she have to speak out for the most basic pill? She didn't know, but Iris Overseer knew fully well. He must have used Bewitching Whispers. He used it first on Dandan and now on Zio Lion in the third layer of chi condensation. Humph, this brat is on a crooked path. Peony Overseer snorted. "Damn girl, you always have that dopey look on your face. Are you still under his spell?" "Master, Senior Aunt undid it for me." Blushing, Zio Dandan watched Peony Overseer shyly, then her eyes looked pitiful when she turned to Zhuo Fan. "Actually, I couldn't be happier if he used it on me again." Peony Overseer held her forehead and sighed. "What's so charming about that brat? That got her brash disciple so smitten." Chu Qingcheng didn't mind, only sighed. "Bewitching Whispers isn't important. What matters now is that Song Yu failed to become the winner. The Vicious Pill King will once again condescend us. The only thing that changed is turning cheating into Zio Lion's mistake." The scene played out as what Chu Qingcheng had said. Zioya gestured for the excited crowd to calm down. "Forgive us, this is a mistake on our disciple's part." The first place in the first round will. Wait, Zhuo Fan waved and eyed her from the side. Judge, you're not taking my appetite pill for a first-grade pill? Ha ha ha, you call that a pill? Yanfu cut Zhao Yu off before she could reply with his ridicule and made those around him laugh. Thousands of scornful pairs of eyes bore into Zhuo Fan. You dare come to a competition with such a pill? You must have been blind. Perking the corner of his mouth, Zhuo Fan looked past the mockery sent his way and spoke matter-of-factly at Yanfu. Then please, oh the best alchemist of Pill King Hall, vicious Pill King's prized pupil, young Master Yanfu, enlighten me. Just what exactly is the appetite pill? Of course it's, Yanfu suddenly froze. He recalled something, but he didn't get the chance to continue. Snickering, Zhuo Fan turned to the crowd, finally resting his cold smile on Yanfu. What cat got your tongue? Ha ha ha, then let me refresh your memory. There are 12 pill grades and first grade is the lowest. I can just throw the ingredients in the fire and as long as it's refined, the least it'll be is first grade. The hubbub stopped in a flash from the sheer shock his words implied. Even the faces of those mocking him froze, yet their eyes were bulging out of their sockets. Why didn't I think of that? Because the appetite pill was that easy, that simple, even a normal person could make it. This made the alchemists look past it. But by definition, the lowest grade a pill could be was first grade. As long as the ingredients were refined, it was called a pill. Even the bottom-of-the-barrel pill is considered to be first grade. Speaking of it from this point of view, the appetite pill was undeniably a goddamned first-grade pill. Although for everyone else, getting the first place in the 100 pill meeting with such a lame pill was too insulting. This led to everyone turning to Zhao Yu to hear her verdict. Zhao Yu fell on pins and needles. Every single one of the participants here gave their all, even with a first-grade pill. They all wanted to excel. Who could have foreseen such a weirdo use the lowest of the lowest pill to compete in the meeting? And to top it all he fucking won. Giving him first place would make the other alchemists feel unfair. So Zhao Yu could only compromise. Young Master Song, your pill may have somewhat fulfilled the bare minimum, but the first PL is mine, Zhuo Fan cut her short. His haughty attitude led vicious Pill King to feel newfound rage for him. You little prick, are you that shameless? You already cleared a spot, so don't push it. That appetite pill may be a first grade, but it's the worst there is. It can't get any lower than this. Isn't the worst also a first grade? The judge clearly stated, refine a first grade pill and compete in speed. Each of you are morons. You didn't listen to the rules and tried to refine a great pill. Who's to blame for your loss? There's no way I'm giving up my spot. Zhuo Fan's attitude was beyond arrogant and earned the ire of every alchemist, but they had no words to refute. They could only stomp in hatred. Son of a bitch. Why couldn't I have found the loophole in the rules? This damn runt used it instead. I could refine an appetite pill even faster than him. Dismay flowed like a river in the hearts of each of the thousands of alchemists. But who could blame them? The opportunity to win was right there in front of them, but they did not see it. So they chose to direct all their anger onto Zhuo Fan. They looked at him as their worst enemy. It was fine if he had used real skill to win, but Zhuo Fan just got the biggest advantage, a cheap trick to get in front of them. None of them could ever accept it. All their killing intent seemed to fly right past Zhuo Fan, who found the time to even smile. Oh my, you know what they say, envy of talent and all that. It seems that yours truly has been pretty outstanding so far. The crowd was a powder keg primed and ready to blow. Zhao Yu shook her head helplessly. Young Master Song, I've seen my fair share of shameless people, but you're the worst by far. He, what are talking about? This is yours truly's nature. Zhuo Fan grinned. They didn't consider their own nature, while yours truly is the most at peace with myself. I earned first place prop and all. Seeing him tooting his horn, Zhao Yu felt sick and no longer paid attention to this dissolute young master. The alchemists looked down on him. He had no skill, they thought. He used a crooked path, they thought. He'd be washed up next round, they thought. Though one man among them looked at him with a stern face. It was none other than the newly kicked in 5th spot Liu Yizhen. He was just like the others at first, mocking Zhuo Fan for saying the end justified his demeaning means, taking him for an incompetent fool. But Zhuo Fan leaked the fact the first round wasn't about speed but one's mind, a test to their nature. This shocked him and he began to look at Zhuo Fan with different eyes. Were there even a handful among these thousands of alchemists who caught the test's real meaning? Yet this immoral young master saw through it with a glance. Was he perhaps a hidden gem, a grand alchemy genius? If so, then refining the appetite pill may not have been his limit, only complying with the rules. Liu Yizhen no longer wore a casual expression, but one of dead seriousness. The Tianyu Empire had many talents crop up in recent years. Not only the vicious Pill King's prized pupil, Yan Fu, but now this outstanding genius as well. This would make the 100 pill meeting more intense by the second. I thought getting third would be all right, but by the looks of things, I might not even make it to the 5th place. Grandmaster Liu started sinking into depression. Refining all his life, he never achieved anything great, and many outstanding youngsters kept overtaking him. It was sad and regretful. Although I do not wish to, I still must declare young Master Song as the first place winner of this round. Not paying attention to the old man's lament, nor Zhuo Fan's true strength, Zhuo Ye declared with a sigh. In an instant, everyone hissed. Zhuo Fan couldn't care less, grinning at them. To him, they were just a blind fool with no future. Vicious Pill King snorted, "You had it easy this time, but I will throw you out the next round." "Humph, can you?" After a sneer, Zhuo Fan turned around and pointed at the words on his back with pride. "Take a good look, you're just the Vicious Pill King, while I am heaven-toppling Pill." Vicious Pill King laughed coldly. "You think wearing a dead man's cloak will help you? Ha ha ha, Chu Kingshan was a genius, but couldn't compare to me in alchemy. Heaven-toppling Pill is just his own egotistical words. Speaking of it, his death at the hands of my antidote is proof of how naive and immature he was." "Yan Song, is that formula truly fake?" Tao Danyan couldn't help but ask. Yan Song snickered. "Would you be looking like this if it weren't? He, that foolish kid didn't know his limits, stole my formula and ended up killing himself with it, taking down others with him. Getting beaten to death by Drifting Flowers Edifice's people was his just deserts." Tao Danyan clenched her fists, her eyes burning with anger. "I have worked 3 years on it, only to find out it's fake." Up on the terrace, Chu Qingcheng bit her lip as the killing intent in her eyes grew. It was thanks to the 2 overseers stopping her that she didn't charge at Yan Song. Long Ju sighed. He understood Chu Qingcheng's feelings. Who could stand to watch their most hated enemy that put their little brother to death continue to humiliate him? Zhuo Fan then said something that left them speechless. "Yet here I am, standing before you in his cloak." His tone was calm and looked at Yan Song with a challenging grin. Yan Song couldn't help but clench his fists, his eyes gradually reddening, burning with endless rage. Challenge, yes, a naked challenge. Not only that, but it also promised retribution for the departed. Zhuo Fan's words were blunt. He wore Kingshan's cloak right in front of Yan Song. That meant he was going to surpass Yan Song as an alchemist in Kingshan's stead. How could the best alchemist in the empire, Vicious Pill King, take this lying down? But that wasn't the most important thing right now. If Zhuo Fan said it 15 minutes ago, he would have laughed, calling him still a child that didn't know his limits. Now, after the first round, Zhuo Fan stood in the first place, the place he took from Yan Song. Even if one disregarded the stunt he pulled in the first round, the fact he spoke as such was truly shocking, because in truth, he was standing ahead of the Vicious Pill King, and because it was the truth, it angered Yan Song. Never had there been a case where someone stood ahead of him, yet this man somehow did it while also openly challenging him. If he were to take this down, he would no longer be Vicious Pill King. The silence was deafening. The people watched dumbfounded as if they forgot to even breathe. Zhuo Fan earned the first place through devious tricks and was now challenging the Vicious Pill King. Was he tired of living? None could understand, not even the people on the terrace. Only Chu Qingcheng bit her lip as tears glistened in her eyes. Thank you. She knew Zhuo Fan did this all for her. Whether he won or not, he would challenge Vicious Pill King in her stead. This was Kingshan's final wish. As Chui Kingshan's elder sister, she has never managed to do it, but Zhuo Fan had. Chu Qingcheng's gaze on Zhuo Fan turned passionate at that moment. This man was a third-rated clan young master, but he was willing to give everything for her. It was not wrong of her to entrust her dignity to this man. He and Kingshan were the same, albeit a bit more immoral. Chu Qingcheng's heart felt as if it was beating out of her chest. What she didn't know was that Zhuo Fan did all this mostly because of the Bodhi Jade sap. All because the Grand Demonic Emperor did not owe favors. Ha ha ha, someone has the nerve to challenge the great Vicious Pill King. This is the first time it happened to Elder Yan. So he must be pissed. In the eastern stand, Huanpu Qingyun smiled as he looked around. The others nodded, with Hell Valley's 5th elder joining him. Ha ha ha, that old bag of bones. Yan Song considered everyone beneath him. How satisfying to see an ignorant pup mock him to such a degree. Huanpu Qingyun nodded in glee, his eyes shining. It seems we won't be needed to deal with this kid. Once Elder Yan wins the next round, with his temper, he would immediately kill him. Second young master is right, the kid will die after the second round. He challenged Elder Yan, so even if he ended dead, Drifting Flowers Edifice has no grounds to blame Elder Yan and second young master. Young Miss Qingcheng won't feel any more resentment towards you. Lin Zishan fawned with a smile. It had to be said, his words hit the nail on the head. Huanpu Qingyun gave a satisfied nod. In the arena, assaulted by Zhuo Fan's contemptuous challenge, Vicious Pill King was trembling from rage. He took deep breaths to force it down, but his face had become frightening. Rotten punk, you want to challenge me in Chu Kingshan's stead? Zhuo Fan shook his head in mockery. Old coot, get real, me challenge you. Bam! Suddenly Zhuo Fan stomped on the alchemy table, jarring the ears of the others with the noise. Then he proudly declared, "Take a good look, I am in first place. Isn't it more accurate to say that you're the challenger?" You, the vicious pill king, was so pissed his vision blurred, his hair whipped about. He knew the punk was insufferable, but clearly didn't know by how much. With a bit of luck and a clever mind, this punk thought it was enough to flaunt as the best in the empire, and get to make the vicious pill king challenge him. The vicious pill king's chest shook with every breath, rancor dripping from every word. "Little prick, you're more insufferable than Chu Kingshan. But most arrogant people don't end well. Ha ha ha, the ending isn't based on arrogance but strength." Giving him a side glance, Zhuo Fan coldly smiled, stomping on the table again. "Take this table from me and you'll be the best in the empire." "Humph, I intend to. Then let's add one more condition. If you can take this spot, I will offer you my head." The people froze, betting one's life in a mere pill competition. Or did the kid know his end would be bleak after offending the vicious pill king and decided to go for broke? Chu Qingcheng and the rest became grave. Humpu Qingyun's side laughed even harder than before. This justified it even more when the kid lost his head. Long Ju's group was anxious. Why is this brat playing such a dangerous game? As to how cautious Zhuo Fan was, he wouldn't use such arrogant words easily. Zio Dandan was so worried she was on the verge of tears. "Master, what do we do if Darling loses? He isn't the vicious pill king's match. Will he really die? Will I be a widow? You haven't even been with him yet." "What widow nonsense?" Peony Overseer cursed. "This kid is so stubborn he doesn't know what he's saying. Now, when he loses, we won't be able to save him." The Dong siblings watched everything blankly. Where did bro get all that courage from? Is he still the same Song Yu we know? Ignoring the clamor, the vicious pill king sported an insidious smile. He, it's you who said it, punk. Don't go begging me later for mercy. Enough with the boasting brat. Yan Song is an elder and you are wrong about him. Take back those jokes and he won't argue with you either. Because of Chu Qingcheng's relation with him, Tao Danyang gave Zhuo Fan a signal to pull him out of this mess. Zhuo Fan seemed to have turned a deaf to her help, upping the ante. He turned to everyone. "My word is gold. It's not just for the old guy, but it applies to anyone. Whoever takes my place, yours truly will present his head." "What?" The crowd exploded again. He wasn't just challenging one man, the vicious pill king, to settle grudges, but all of them. More aptly put, a challenge towards all alchemists in Tianyu. He was obviously looking to establish himself in the 100 pill, meeting as the best alchemist in the empire. But putting the vicious pill king aside, does a snot-nosed brat have anything to back those words? In a blink, the scene erupted. All the alchemists were now glaring at him, becoming the public enemy number one. They only felt mockery at first, but now it vanished, with anger replacing it. Vicious Pill King smiled evilly. "You're digging your own funeral?" Tao Danyang shook her head. She could not understand what Chu Qingcheng found in this reckless brat. He stirred the crowd into focusing their anger on him. On Huangpu Qingyun's side, they were laughing with glee. After all, Zhuo Fan had turned himself into the target of everyone's hatred. He was begging to be put down. Meanwhile, the two overseers sighed. "Damn rotten brat, are you that hard-headed?" Chu Qingcheng was confused about it all. Song Yu was brash, but not to this extent. Then Zhuo Fan looked at her and pointed at the words on his back with a smile. Chu Qingcheng seemed to have been struck by lightning. She was shaking all over as tears flowed unabated. "Qingcheng, what's wrong?" Iris Overseer asked in worry. Chu Qingcheng watched Zhuo Fan from afar and muttered, "I was the one who was wrong all along." "How?" Peony Overseer asked. With a bright smile, Chu Qingcheng replied, "I always thought Qingcheng's last wish was revenge, to surpass Vicious Pill King in alchemy. But I was wrong. He only ever wanted one thing, a heaven-toppling pill. To be the best alchemist in the whole world." The familiar cloak left Chu Qingcheng laughing, despising herself. "I made that cloak myself, but never truly understood Qingcheng's heart, while Song Yu knew just from a glance. I am not qualified to be his elder sister. What Song Yu is doing this to fulfill Qingshan's final wish." The overseers exchanged a glance, then looked at Zhuo Fan's back, feeling that this thin figure had grown in their eyes. They always said men were unreliable, but there was a man here and now that dared take on the whole world for the woman he loved. They could only have respect for him, and their eyes also hid something stirring deep within. The Vicious Pill King was the first in the empire. Everyone knew that, but no one could reach him. The brat fulfilled Chu Qingshan's wish, but now he was on a road of no return. This punk sure knows how to draw hatred." The three were startled to find Zai Tianyang grinning. "You're saying the kid first humiliated Yan Song and then plans on taking his head. To make him lose in his refining, then fly into a rage over his failure as an excuse to take his life. And this brother is truly cunning. I presume he has what it takes to win." Long Ju caressed his beard. "Humph, Uncle Ju, you expect too much of him again. He may win against others, but how can he win against the Vicious Pill King, the best in the empire? Long Kui grumbled. I only see this brat being afraid of losing. He will most likely use the opportunity when Yan Song is busy refining to end his life. Someone like him won't possibly accept a loss at this point, especially if he has to throw his face away. They all had to nod at this. Zhuo Fan had always been cool-headed, while also engaging in underhanded tactics more often than not. Sneak attacks while refining wasn't beneath him. As they discussed, Peony Overseer cursed, Uncle Zhu, I thought you are on Drifting Flowers Edifice's side. Yet when we are facing a calamity, you are taking joy in our plight. Long Zhu was startled and knew they misunderstood. Zai Tianyang watched the angry Chu Qingcheng and Zio Dandan. Edifice Lord Chu, Lady Dandan, we don't mean any insult for that fellow. We were only talking. Suddenly his eyes shined and he gave a vague smile. Also, sister-in-law, it doesn't look like you've seen the true face of your husband yet. You better watch closely, you'll surely get the fright of your lives. He may look docile near you, but in fact he is the devil. No less than Vicious Pill King, ha ha ha. They were startled, clueless to his meaning. Then a ding sound off and the second round began. Ding, Zioya shook the bell in her hand, earning everyone's attention. It seemed Zhuo Fan's cocky attitude from before chilled even this lady. Being a judge of the 100-pill meeting, held every few decades, was her arrogance, pride, and honor. Then Zhuo Fan showed up halfway with his bag of devious tricks to throw everything in disarray. His endless smug attitude cut her glory down a few levels. From honor to a nobody, that was what she became. A judge would have kicked out such an incompetent fool on the spot. Zhuo Fan's logic made an irritating good point that left her speechless. She had to concede the first place to this silk pants. His sloppy and conceited manner earned the rage of all alchemists and her hatred. But any other option, she could only rein it in and work hard to calm down. She then announced the second round to hurry up and get rid of this brat. The second round's objective is a third-grade pill. Zioya's clear voice echoed and her eyes shined with splendor, talking about making a third-grade pill when most of them here were third-grade alchemists. But just then the Drifting Flowers Edifice disciples accompanying them presented a storage ring. Zioya spoke while they were in a stupor. I ask that everyone refines with Drifting Flowers Edifice's ingredients as to avoid any cheating from occurring. But they're all second-grade ingredients. Is this some kind of a mistake? Someone already voiced his doubts just as Zioya finished, and once there was one, many followed. Zioya ignored them. The main test of this round is pill quality, followed by speed. The first 50 will advance while the rest will be eliminated. Hey judge, all you gave me are ingredients for a second-grade pill. How do you want me to refine a third-grade pill? While the back was complaining, the first 20 alchemists sneered as they ignited their yuan qi flame. These morons still didn't get what this round was about. It wasn't testing their ability to make a third-grade pill, but their formulas. Normally, a third-grade pill could be made with the appropriate ingredients of the same grade. But that does not mean third-grade pills could not be made with second-grade pill ingredients. It was just that usual refining method most were used to would not work in such cases. For such a leap in grade, the refining of the ingredients needed to complement one another, boosting each of their effects to create a third-grade pill. This test was aimed at an alchemist's formulas, how many one had. Drifting Flowers Edifice gave a ring filled with second-grade pill ingredients. It was only expected to be possible to refine 5 types of third-grade pill from them. After the ingredients were handed out, what mattered now was how they could extract their effects, to make the ingredients suitable for refining a third-grade pill. The first 20 alchemists had such formulas aplenty. The back alchemists, though, were pulling their hairs out in frustration, with some still barking at the Drifting Flowers Edifice. Drifting Flowers Edifice's disciples kept silent when receiving their rants but held disdain in their eyes. Zhuo Fan was toying with the ring, thinking which formula to pick. The others were vexed they knew too few formulas. While Zhuo Fan was also vexed, it was for the opposite reason though. He had too many to choose from. Which to use to make that Vicious Pill King take the loss lying down? Young Master Song. Zioya watched him in delight over his misfortune. The others have already started. How is it that the first place hasn't as well? You can't mean you can't even refine a third-grade pill, right? Hee, the kid's skill might not be as awful as you think. It was Vicious Pill King who answered first with his mockery. He must be still doubting why you gave him such low ingredients. Ha ha ha, the other 20 alchemists laughed along with him. Tao Danyang shook her head, focusing on her own refining. In the end, this bag of bones will be the one who will compete with Vicious Pill King. Yet there was one man alone who wasn't laughing. He was watching Zhuo Fan's every move. It was Liu Yizhen. He believed Zhuo Fan was more than he led others to believe. Raising an eyebrow, Zhuo Fan smiled towards the crowd. Ha ha ha, yours truly thought that as the winner and in first place it was poor manners from my part to pick on a bunch of newbies. But since you are so eager to lose to me, yours truly will open your horizon in the true field of alchemy. This remark only earned their glares. Where did this punk come from, calling us newbies? Absurd. After that, they were all watching dumbstruck. Secret refining art, ninth heaven roaring dragon claw. Zhuo Fan spoke in his heart, then his eyes flashed. His finger beckoned tens of ingredients into the air as a yuan qi flame ignited in his palm. A roar echoed as the flame took the shape of a dragon and sped towards the ingredients. It opened its maw and swallowed the first ingredient. The item was refined in an instant, becoming pure medicinal liquid. The shock was palpable as everyone watched amazed, even the alchemists around. What goddamned refining skill is this that can refine an ingredient in an instant? Even the great vicious pill king, despite his fastest speed, could only do it after minding every step. The least he could do was make it visible how the ingredients were refined. But Zhuo Fan's actions seemed to go against all alchemical laws, refining the ingredient in a blink of an eye. While others were hard at work in their refining, he had refined them all. Roar! With another yell, the blazing dragon turned the ingredients into a paste. It then turned into a fire tornado and revolved in Zhuo Fan's palm. The dozens of ingredients ebbed calmly among the flames, separated from each other. All that Zhuo Fan had to do was put them together and finish the pill. He was in no hurry, apparently, watching over the others coldly. Newbies, yours truly's refining hasn't devolved to your mime show. You have still much to learn to reach my level. He was as obnoxious as before, but this time his words struck their core. Before, they mocked him for boasting and his immoral character. Now he was the one reprimanding them as a superior alchemist. They had no room to refute. Even vicious Pill King was stupefied. This reckless brat possessed a miraculous refining skill, a skill not even the best in the Empire could fathom. Master W, what is this skill? Yanfu stammered. Vicious Pill King tried many times to speak, but settled to rebuke him and hide in humiliation instead. Mind your pill. Don't ask so many questions. Yet his heart felt like bleeding, and for the first time, he turned serious when he saw Zhuo Fan, hiding a hint of killing intent in his eyes. This time, Zhuo Fan had become a real threat to him as the best alchemist in the Empire. Zhuo Fan noticed everything but wasn't of a mind to care. He kept on belittling Vicious Pill King as he pointed at the firestorm in his palm. Elder Yan, if you don't hurry up, yours truly will get the first place again. Flushed, Vicious Pill King's beard began to quaver. His chest moved with ragged breaths, but he didn't utter a word. He was truly and utterly speechless. He could not accept it, but he knew it was the truth. In the host terrace, Chu Qingcheng was shocked silly. Zhuo Fan made it possible to even leave the Vicious Pill King without words of reprisal. The fact the Vicious Pill King was now solemn against Zhuo Fan's challenge meant that he admitted in his heart that what Zhuo Fan said was true. Despite not voicing it out, amazing darling is the best. Zio Danden's delicate face was red as she danced in joy. Iris Overseer was still lost, finding it hard to believe, am I dreaming? Did that brat outshine the Vicious Pill King? Yeah, we never took him seriously. Peony Overseer blinked then sighed at the Iris Overseer. Senior sister, pinch me, I think I'm still dreaming. How is he able to do this? Shaking her head, Iris Overseer turned to Chu Qingcheng. King Cheng, did you know of this? Is that why you chose him as your husband? How can our great edifice lord marry a third-rate clan young master otherwise? Chu Qingcheng's cheeks turned pink and rolled her eyes. Senior sister, don't tease me. I was so saddened at the time, thinking only about living and dying with Drifting Flowers edifice. I could not trust anyone, but then I met him. He was so similar to Kingshan, and I threw all my faith to him. I saw his miraculous refining skill once, but never thought for a second he could shut the grand Vicious Pill King up. The overseers were shocked. This kid is truly unpredictable. Sighing, Iris Overseer looked around. At the least, the Drifting Flowers edifice's survival can be entrusted to someone. I hope he and Aunt Tao can dispel the imminent disaster facing the Drifting Flowers edifice. Chu Qingcheng and Peony Overseer nodded. Watching Zhuo Fan's smug face, for some odd reason, Chu Qingcheng felt at peace, a foreign feeling over the last few years. Perhaps this is what it means to lean on someone. Chu Qingcheng's gaze on Zhuo Fan grew even warmer. Thump Huanpu Qingyun pounded the stone table, which was as strong as a first-grade spiritual weapon. Cracks like spiderwebs spread through the entire table. Watching Zhuo Fan with his hawk eyes, Huanpu Qingyun spat in anger. Is there anyone who can tell me where this guy came from? Why is it that he can surpass even Elder Yan in alchemy? Shuddering, the people around looked at each other, but none wanted to earn his ire. However, Hell Valley's fifth elder rolled his eyes as he laughed. Second young master, relax. Elder Yan is more than capable to deal with that obnoxious brat. He must have already thought of a way. Once he wins this round, he will not hesitate to get rid of that pest gnawing at his heart. He must be itching to finish him off. Ha ha ha, Huanpu Qingyun took a deep breath as he watched Yan Song. Sure enough, the shock faded from Yan Song's face and was now replaced with deep-seated killing intent. This somewhat eased the second young master's anger. Lin Zixin watched Fifth Elder askance as he wiped the cold sweat off his brow, crying inside, "Curses, no one here is good." Fifth Elder looked as if he was appeasing Huangpu Qingyun when in fact he was placing the responsibility of dealing with Zhuo Fan solely on the Vicious Pill King. If the Vicious Pill King killed the kid, he'd be settling a grudge and Huangpu Qingyun would reward him. If not, then the second young master would pour all his rage on Vicious Pill King. And by the look of things, Yan Song had no idea this was happening. Such scheming was vicious. I'll have to tread carefully around these people, or I won't even know how I got betrayed. Sighing, Lin Zixin shook his head as he watched Huangpu Qingyun. In the arena, Zhuo Fan had to praise Vicious Pill King for managing to get his anger under control, though inside, he was the best alchemist in the empire after all, and didn't get distracted so easily. Yet he did not relent with his mockery. "You're so slow in refining the ingredients. What do you say I wait for you? How about 3 breaths to catch up? To a normal man, 3 breaths passed in a blink, but to alchemists, this period could mean the difference between victory or defeat." In these crucial moments, Zhuo Fan was laid back in his battle against the Vicious Pill King. It was naked humiliation. He would have been mocked if he spoke of this before the round, but now no one could do so after his display of skill. Slowly, Zhuo Fan's arrogance was taken as something normal. Well, he is a grandmaster after all. If you got the skill, then you can be as cocky as you want, right? The Vicious Pill King had eyes only for his own pill, although his speed has lowered. Tao Danyang was a bit nervous as she urged Zhuo Fan, "Child, you're still in the lead, so hurry and finish. Don't drag it out any more than necessary." "Yeah, young Master Song, Grandmaster Song." After Zhuo Fan revealed his skills, Zioya felt she needed to change how she addressed him. Anything can happen at any moment in a competition. Use this chance to your advantage. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow and snickered. "Judge, do you know what this pill of mine is called? Is Grandmaster testing me?" Zioya let out a sweet smile. Grandmaster chose mostly yang ingredients. And according to the formula, it should be the yang pill. Its main use is to dispel the negative energy in one's body. It is gentle on the meridians and can increase a qi condensation cultivator's cultivation by 1 layer. Ha ha ha, miss is truly knowledgeable. However, do you know who I'm giving it to? Zioya shook her head. What does it have to do with me? You, Zhuo Fan smiled. Blushing, Zioya averted her eyes from him and muttered, "I am but a normal disciple of Drifting Flower's edifice. I've long surpassed the qi condensation stage. Why is Grandmaster giving it to me?" His smile growing colder, Zhuo Fan mocked, "Because you have a vile mouth, so your body must be filled with negative energy. I am doing this for your own good." Zioya was shocked speechless as everyone burst out laughing. They all knew Zioya mocked Zhuo Fan, and now he was only returning the favor. Zioya felt slandered and her eyes glistened with tears. She gave a hateful glare to Zhuo Fan out of spite. Zhuo Fan, however, still sported that insidious grin. This brat is so petty. He even shamed a young lady. Chu Qingcheng couldn't help but grumble seeing a fellow sister of her Drifting Flower's edifice being mocked. Zai Tianyang nodded after a pause. Edifice Lord Chu is right. This brat's eyes are so narrow that it's best we don't mess with him. His revenge is never welcomed. Zio Dandan felt it on her own skin and nodded with force, although she wasn't the least bit vexed over what she went through. Instead, she was prideful. "He dares?" Chu Qingcheng raised her head up high. It was the image of a wife who got her husband on a leash. But noticing their looks, her cheeks blushed and she lowered her head back down. As if they rehearsed it, they all looked at each other and laughed. Only Chu Qingcheng's blush grew a shade deeper. Whoosh! Suddenly, as everyone was paying attention to Zhuo Fan, who got a bit carried away in his teasing of Zioya, a green liquid shot into the firestorm in his hand and melded into his concoction. Zhuo Fan's heart was in a panic. He noticed that the direction it came from was Yan Song. It was unknown when, but the ingredients in his hand had already finished refining. He slowed down on purpose to get Zhuo Fan to drop his guard. Vicious Pill King let out a vile snicker. "Grandmaster Song, I already finished refining my concoction, so I will be going ahead and form the pill. You don't need to spare me 3 breaths, rather you should stick to your own matters. Ha ha ha." His eyelid twitching, Zhuo Fan's face grew colder. "What did you throw in my concoction?" "Throw." Vicious Pill King denied it completely. "I would never do such an immoral act as ruining others' refining. Just that I was a bit sloppy and a few drops spilled from my concoction. It just so happened to fall into yours. This was all just a big mishap. I'm sure Grandmaster Song won't mind at all." Mishap. When an alchemist slacked in concentration, the Yuan Qi flame faltered and the concoction did spill. But that only happens to beginners. It wouldn't happen to even a first-grade alchemist. Yet it happened to the best alchemist in the empire, the Vicious Pill King, a grand 7th-grade alchemist. It couldn't get more deliberate than this. Everyone knew it and so did he, but there was no way to contest it. He said he was careless and no one could prove otherwise. Gnashing his teeth, Zhuo Fan ignored him and returned his focus on the changes in his concoction. He cried out in shock from what he saw. Green python scale concoction, Zhuo Fan cried. This shocked everyone. They knew Zhuo Fan was refining a yang pill. All of his ingredients were of yang property. But the green python scale concoction was made with a base from a second-level spiritual beast, green sky python scale. The snake had yin properties and was also cruel, making this ingredient the worst addition to Zhuo Fan's. This poison was now attacking the yang pill's ingredients. Once used, it would reduce the yang of the pill a great degree. He would be hard-pressed to make a second-grade, let alone a third-grade pill. It was most likely going to end up as a common first-grade pill. Everyone shook their heads. Zhuo Fan's refining skill was a rare one that gave incredible speed. A pity, his ingredients were now wasted. If he started from scratch, he would never catch up to the vicious pill king. The easy win had now turned to failure, all because of Zhuo Fan's ego. Vicious pill king laughed coldly. Punk, you remember your promise. If you fall from your spot, your head will be mine. I'll be right here waiting for you to bring it to me, ha ha ha. Vicious pill king's laughter reverberated across Drifting Flowers Hall. The people sighed. This outstanding genius was now going to present his head to Vicious Pill King because the latter pulled a dirty trick. Tao Danyang sighed, disappointed, and resumed her focus on her pill. The child is amazing, but his mind is unstable. Liu Yizhen watched Zhuo Fan in a daze, only to shake his head in the end. In the eastern stand, Huangpu Qingyun was laughing his heart out. Elder Yan did have a way. The rest around him nodded. In the host terrace, 3 people stomped in anger. This brat is insufferable. He brags about saving Drifting Flowers' edifice, and now he falls to Yan Song's ploy. Peony Overseer flared. In your arrogance, you threw away the prestige we worked so hard to get back. Indeed. This brat's manner is causing everyone headaches. Iris Overseer sighed. Forget about saving Drifting Flowers' edifice when we can't even save him. Only Chu Qingcheng watched Zhuo Fan without complaining. He is in Qingshan's stead. Even if he is a little arrogant, does that mean he is in the wrong? Qingshan would have done the same as him. Master, save darling, Zio Danan pleaded. Peony Overseer was powerless and turned to Longjiu. Everyone, seeing how familiar you are with Song Yu, what do you think of this? Her anger flared, but her heart was clear. She knew saving Zhuo Fan with only Drifting Flowers' edifice power was impossible. They had to ally with Veiled Dragon Pavilion and Sword Marquis' abode, though they didn't even react to her words, calm as ever. Save who? That brat needs our saving, Zai Tianyang said. I reckon he must be so pissed he's about to pop a vein. A shrewd man like him was being played by another. It'd be odd if he could hold it in. Peony Overseer didn't understand. Suddenly Dong Tianba staggered and fell with a terrified face. Dong Tianba cried out before they could ask, He's not brother Song Yu. Jay, just who is he? None understood what he meant and looked at the stage. One look was enough to scare the life out of them. Because Zhuo Fan's eyes had so much killing intent, it actually took form. It was as if an Asura from the underworld stepped into the world. Those eyes made everyone feel a razor blade bearing on their necks, as if any moment their lives could be reaped. Zhuo Fan was royally pissed. Damn it, I'm the one who usually playing with others. Now I am on the receiving end. Squinting, Zhuo Fan controlled the firestorm in his hand while the other clenched and shivered. It was poised to strike at any minute. The glorious demonic emperor had always been a close follower of being the first and the last to strike. Yet here he was, playing fair while the others took advantage of him. He just couldn't take it lying down. Only the head of the accuser could now salvage the demonic emperor's dignity. His killing intent was hidden behind a pair of eyes. Hidden so well, in fact, the vicious Pill King, who was the closest to him, was not even able to sense it. Only those on the terrace noticed, since they were always focused on him. But because of this, Drifting Flowers' edifice's people finally realized how scary Zhuo Fan was. They always took Zhuo Fan for a pig-headed and arrogant kid who knew nothing of the world and was close to losing his life on numerous occasions. If not for these women's timely intervention, he'd be long dead. But now they understood he was not so simple. First was the fact of concealing all his killing intent in his eyes wasn't something anyone could do, not even them. A killer had killing intent, and the more he killed, the more he had. It was great for scare tactics, but useless in subtle matters. So every assassin learned to hide their killing intent, but hiding it from the vicious Pill King and the surrounding experts normally would not work at all. Zhuo Fan's was different though. As long as you didn't look in his eyes, you wouldn't know the depth of his killing intent. His technique was the best for assassinations. It was clear Zhuo Fan was an expert at killing others from obscurity. Secondly, Zhuo Fan's killing intent was so thick it took shape, scarring even them, profound heaven experts. Just how many did one have to kill to reach this state? Peony Overseer finally understood what Dong Tianba's meant. He was not Song Yu, since when did a third-rate clan young master have such strong killing intent? Just who is he? Why is he acting as Song Yu then appearing in our Drifting Flowers edifice? Iris Overseer's heart shivered. Chu King Cheng and Peony Overseer frowned, while Veiled Dragon Pavilion and Sword Marquise abodes people long knew the truth and were calm. Smiling at Chu King Cheng, Long Jiu said, "Worry not, Chachu. This brat's presence is Drifting Flowers edifice's fortune. Yeah, Sister Chachu, this brat, although deceitful, can save Drifting Flowers edifice, the only one perhaps." For the first time, Long Kui was actually speaking in Zhuo Fan's favor. Everyone looked at her suspiciously. Long Kui blushed. "What are you looking at? I'm telling you the truth." Long Jiu shook his head. A strange power revolved around Zhuo Fan that could even make those who hated him admire him. The way they talked in riddles left the three women confused, but despite the threat he posed, he wasn't against Drifting Flowers edifice, so they all relaxed. He, the brat had enough, he can't take it. He'll act soon. Zai Tianyang's snicker made them look at the arena. Sure enough, Zhuo Fan could no longer dispel the killing intent in his eyes, the point where he was about to make a move. Then his boundless killing intent just vanished. Zai Tianyang was startled. What's going on? Why is he holding it in? This isn't how he normally does things. He knew Zhuo Fan well. The brat would never relent until the one who shamed him was in pieces. It was also the best moment, so why stop? It was the same for the rest. They knew how determined Zhuo Fan was and would never miss a golden opportunity for a sneak attack. Killing and slinking back in obscurity had always been his plan. Why the sudden change? Taking a deep breath, Zhuo Fan calmed his heart. Looking at the cloak on his back, he once again had a sneer on his face. His aim today wasn't only to block Regent Estate's conquest and buy time for the Luo clan to rise, but also to return the favor to Chu King Cheng for the sap. By saving the Drifting Flowers edifice, he would be having her owe him a favor, but it was still along the lines of his main objects. Therefore, in his heart, he could not really consider that as a favor she owed to him. So he also acted as Chu Kingshan, rising to be the best alchemist in the empire. Heaven-toppling pill was Chu King Cheng's final wish and aspiration. A demonic cultivator was free and unrestrained. He must never owe anyone anything. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed and flicked his hand. The lid on the cauldron was lifted and another flick sent the firestorm inside. Grandmaster Song was using the cauldron to refine. Everyone watching him was startled. A Grandmaster's control over ingredients was high, only using the cauldron when refining high-grade pills for assistance. Since it was just a mere third-grade pill, none of the first 20 used one. Yet Zhuo Fan was the first to act, and in a splendid fashion too, clearly displaying his perfect control. So using the cauldron at this point was all to mask his actions. All eyes were now on him. Snickering, Vicious Pill King saw the burning concoction going inside the cauldron, which had already fused and mocked. "Your pill is ruined. Using a cauldron at this point won't make a difference. Admit your loss. My skill is not something boors like you can understand." Raising an eyebrow, Zhuo Fan pointed at his cloak before yelling, "Look closely. You are Vicious Pill King, and yours truly is the heaven-toppling pill. Our levels are as different as heaven and earth." Under the eyes of everyone, Zhuo Fan jumped on the cauldron and removed his belt. "Ah!" Cries of women rose as they all blushed and hid their faces. Zioya squinted as she yelled, "G Grandmaster Song, what are you doing? What do you think? Refining, of course." Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes, and under the eyes of everyone, he let go. A stream of clear liquid smoothly entered the raging inferno inside the cauldron. "I knew it. Grandmaster Song is taking a piss inside the cauldron." The audience was speechless. Is this goddamned alchemy? Or is he just throwing a tantrum because he lost? Vicious Pill King and the alchemists were dumbfounded. Even if refining failed and he had to present his head, he ought to at least keep his dignity, his ethic. The hell is he doing? Was he venting on the pill or an outcry to them? What was happening was too insane for them to comprehend. What is he doing? Zai Tianyang was dumbfounded watching Zhuo Fan pissing into the cauldron. Along with the flowing and smooth stream, the raging fire dampened. Looking at the concoction inside, there was no doubt that it was ruined. He plans to lose the competition without any dignity. Why would he do such an obscene act in front of a crowd? Is he? Zai Tianyang thought of something and then cried, "No one look, especially the overseers. Who wants to anyway?" Chu King Cheng's group had long since covered their eyes and turned around with flushed faces. Zio Dandan was the same for a time, but Peony Overseer forced her to turn around and stare long and hard. Zio Dandan didn't blame her though. He was her husband in the end. If she didn't look, who would? Damn, the brat went mad. Seeing them turned around, Zai Tianyang did the same and cursed. "I know what he wants to do. With his stinking temper, he plans on using this humiliation of seeing him pee as an excuse to kill them all." What? Peony Overseer was panicking. Impossible. Won't that make him a demon in this world? Did the world have someone like him? Humph, he has been a freak from the start, one that enjoys killing. He is a demon through and through. Zai Tianyang was certain of it, so don't look at him below his waist or he'll use it as an excuse to kill us. Long Zhu stroked his beard. It was a far-fetched possibility, but Zhuo Fan was very much capable of doing it, especially when mad. So he pulled Long Jai and Long Kui and turned them around. Seeing even Long Zhu doing it, Chu King Chang and the overseers believed him capable of it with a nervous heart. They knew not who Zhuo Fan was in reality, but the way these people behaved was as if they were afraid of him. If Zhuo Fan ever found out, he'd give Zai Tianyang a thrashing he wouldn't ever forget, and scold something along the lines of, "Since when have I become a murderous demon? Well, yes, people have called me a freak, but that's about my strength. I also killed, true, but only my enemies. I'm also a demon, true, but that's because I'm the proud demonic emperor. Are you looking to ruin my name by spreading these falsehoods?" Luckily, Zhuo Fan didn't know or he'd go on a killing spree. With his job done, he jumped off the cauldron. Under the astonished eyes of the crowd, he saw that vicious Pill King was close to finishing his pill. He turned to his own cauldron and nodded at the strange colored paste. Good, there's still time. Perking his mouth into a smile, Zhuo Fan turned to the dumbfounded vicious Pill King. "Old fart, yours truly will let you see what is a true refining skill." Zhuo Fan formed a gesture and pointed at the cauldron. "A man of true skill will persevere and push through to rise like a dragon." Sacred dragon call, roar. In a blink, the almost extinguished fire in the cauldron flashed with a golden splendor. A sky-trembling dragon roar battered the ears of the people, that forced even the women shying away to look. Translator, Star Reader, Editor, P4553, Whoosh, a golden pillar of light shot from the cauldron. The sputtering flames suddenly flared and spiraled around the golden pillar in the form of a fire dragon. Zhuo Fan's hand shifted gestures as he chanted. Yin turns to yang, a snake transforms into a dragon. Ascend and scale the gates of heaven. Roar. With another dragon roar, the mixture in the cauldron that Zhuo Fan irrigated flickered with a golden glow. Soon, this golden liquid began to move like a stream, along with the dragon. As the golden concoction flowed upward, the dragon's aura grew and grew, as if the golden liquid was its blood, its life. The audience was dumbstruck, including Tianyu's most renowned alchemists. They have forgotten their own refining, watching this unbelievable spectacle. They had refined for dozens of years, but this was their first time seeing someone doing it with such flair. As he watched in a daze the slowly rising liquid in the dragon, vicious Pill King's heart was restless. He began to rush the refining of his own pill, pouring more power into his flame. Snickering, Zhuo Fan shouted, "Old fool, you're too late. The second round's top spot is for no one else but me." Zhuo Fan punctuated with a change in his gesture and called out, "Sacred dragon prevailed and returned successfully." Dragon power flows into the fire and gives birth to the pill. A sudden ripple spread from the light pillar and burst into golden lights that littered the sky. The fire dragon stuck the light pillar to turn its head and smashed into the cauldron. Boom, the fire dragon's body exploded and formed a fireball. Before the fire passed, the sparkling golden lights gathered around the flaming cauldron. The lights formed a net that tightened the fireball as it shrunk. With a final heaven-shaking dragon roar, all the golden lights gathered and condescended into a golden pill. Zhuo Fan beckoned and the pill landed in his hand. He raised it way above him and shouted, "Third-grade pill, Yang Dragon pill, complete." Zhuo Fan's announcement rang in everyone's ears, but they were still in shock, marveling at what they just witnessed. When they recovered, they were gobsmacked, especially the alchemists. They found it unimaginable. Wasn't Grandmaster Song's pill a failure? How did it succeed? They turned their confused eyes to the judge, Zioya. Understanding their concerns, Zioya muttered under her breath before walking to Zhuo Fan. However, she was hesitant about getting anywhere near the pill, even more so about touching it. Everyone saw how Zhuo Fan made this crazy pill. He poured his very essence into it. Regardless if it was a third-grade pill, it was hard for Zioya to even approach it. Grandmaster Song, are you certain it's a third-grade pill?" Zioya fidgeted in embarrassment. Arching an eyebrow, Zhuo Fan presented the pill with a sneer. "You're the judge, it's your call. If you can't tell with your eyes, eat it and make your decision." Zioya's face was twitching, anger bubbling from within. Zhuo Fan was obviously poking fun at her. Forget about it being a third-grade pill. Because of the ingredients, this missy here wouldn't eat it even if it were a seventh-grade pill, though many were eyeing her with expectant gazes. She had no choice but to hold it in and give them an explanation. She sighed and took the hateful pill, made with but not limited to, this spiteful man's golden essence. But the moment it landed in her palm, she felt it was ice cold to the touch. Why wasn't the pill hot after just being refined by such blazing fire? Zioya was puzzled, and after more analyzing, she was baffled. The pill wasn't hot at all and didn't even have a fragrance, like a mud ball without anything great about it. No way, with the show this brat put on, there's no way it's a dud. It is possible for a pill to be this strange. Zioya couldn't for the life of her make anything out of it after a long time. Sorry, Grandmaster Song. I can't tell your Yang Dragon pill's grade. The audience was speechless. All pills had grades. Was she saying this pill was made of waste and was beneath grading? Listening to the endless comments, Zhuo Fan smiled. Then why not eat it and feel for its grade? The crowd cheered, eat, eat, eat. Zioya felt pained, glaring at Zhuo Fan. She now looked at the pill in her hands on the verge of tears. It was great if it was a real pill. If not, doesn't that just mean I drank his pee? Zioya was in a pickle, not knowing what to do. Suddenly an aged voice came, Judge, no need to eat it. Split the pill and you can discern its grade. Only. What only? Anyways, we'll do it as Grandmaster Liu suggests. Zioya was grasping straws at this point. She gave thanks for his help and split the pill. Whoosh, golden mist drifted from within, still containing the roars of dragons. The pill fragrance instantly swept the whole arena. With each whiff, the people's souls shuddered and their yuan qi surging. It was already strong without taking it. How great would it be once it was eaten then? It was no longer just a third-grade pill. They all waited for Zioya's verdict. She was also out of it as she cried, it's a fifth-grade pill. Her answer caused chaos. What in God's name was that secret skill? How did he make a fifth-grade pill from second-grade pill ingredients? Where did this Grandmaster Song come from? Wait, Zioya blinked and sported doubt on her face. This pill just dropped a grade. It's now a fourth-grade pill. The people were again shocked. This was too damn odd. We never heard of a pill that drops in grade. Zioya then followed with, it's now third grade, second first. Zioya's voice made the audience's heart skip. Then Zioya took a deep breath, watching everyone perplexed. I am correct. This pill lost all of its effects. She watched the split pill in her hand. These are only waste, silent as the grave. None could utter a single sound. A pill could actually have its effect fade, only leaving behind waste. This was too bizarre. The pill wasn't alive, so how could it run away? But even if it was and ran away, there were too many people here for it to get out alive. Grandmaster Song W, what is this? Zioya spoke with a trembling voice. Zhuo Fan shrugged. I told you to eat it, but now it's too late. She should have known this punk would mess with her. So she ignored him and looked at the rest of the alchemists. It was only now that Vicious Pill King withdrew his flame and held a red pill. He sighed, I didn't think I'd be a step behind. But it still isn't too late. He then threw the pill to Zioya. She cried, as expected, a Vicious Pill King. This is a fourth-grade pill. Your skill is marvelous to refine such a pill with only second-grade pill ingredients. Though she sang praises, her words didn't get the expected reaction from the crowd. They only oh-ed and ah-ed. Seeing Zhuo Fan's heaven-shaking secret skill, who would dare utter the words marvelous skill? Even Vicious Pill King just closes his eyes, striking a lonely figure. What's wrong with everyone? We are not sure what grade of pill Grandmaster Song's pill is. What do you mean unclear? Some may not see, but the top 10 alchemists are clear on that pill's outstanding effect. Liu Yizhen cut her off. Lady, you're too young. You may be enough to judge our pills, but not enough to see the true value of Grandmaster Song's pill. Zioya vehemently denied it. She was no grandmaster, but saw countless pills and judged them all fairly. How can I possibly not be able to judge a stinky kid's pill? But then she saw the top 10 alchemists sporting solemn expressions. Even Vicious Pill King had to make a nod. Just what is this? Isn't he and Grandmaster Song in a bitter battle? Why is he taking his side? Vicious Pill King didn't want to admit Zhuo Fan's ability, but sensed the value of his refining skill. However, was he the only one? If he denied it, he would only earn the others' ridicule. He held the highest ability in alchemy up till now, but now he didn't even have the right to shame his opponent. After all, Zhuo Fan's skills were indeed incredible. Did I see it correctly? Zai Tianyang blinked. Vicious Pill King just admitted defeat in front of everyone. Is this still Elder Yan, who always cared about his reputation? Chu Qingcheng's group was amazed. It wasn't easy squeezing a win from this old coot's mouth. Just where did this fake Song Yu come from? Peony Overseer's eyes flashed. Young Master Zai, you know this fake Song Yu, don't you? I don't think you know him at all, describing him as a murderous demon. He is an alchemist, right? Peony Overseer blushed at the end. Zhuo Fan's recent conduct wasn't exactly stellar. After all, he did something so unrefined. Lifting his head in pride, Zai Tianyang snorted, did I ever say otherwise? I've been through hell with him. Then what is his name? But Zai Tianyang caught himself before playing into Peony Overseer's game and snickered, I won't tell you. Just enjoy the show. Peony Overseer glared at him with gnashed teeth. Long Jiu shook his head, but his eyes were filled with admiration for Zhuo Fan. He not only knows of ancient arrays, but an ancient refining skill too. Just who is he? How does he have so many treasures on him? He was but a servant in the Luo clan before. Was it possible that? In the arena, Zhuo was pacing back and forth, her brows locked in deep thought. Many alchemists started turning in their pills, qualifying for the next round. But regarding the first place, she was still uncertain what to do. It was a spot that could only be taken by either Grandmaster Song or Vicious Pill King. While Vicious Pill King's 4th grade pill was held in her hand, Grandmaster Song's pill turned into a waste after cutting it in two. How could she possibly judge this? Despite not being so erudite, the fading pill was a 5th grade pill. But why did it drop grades? What was up with that? Without getting to the bottom of it, she couldn't make a call if she put Grandmaster Song in first place. She wouldn't know how to explain if the need arose. Putting Vicious Pill King first would earn the scorn of the top 10 alchemists, as if saying this lady was too green and unable to see the pill's secret. What vexed her most was Vicious Pill King also looked at her the same. She was thoroughly stuck. This was her first time in all her years of judging that she encountered such a problem. She could only turn to Liu Yizhen, pleading for guidance. She found him the most amiable among the top 10 grandmasters. As for Zhuo Fan and Vicious Pill King, one smug, the other an iceberg, it was best to ignore them. Meanwhile, she avoided asking Aunt Tao or Yan Fu as they might play favorites. Grandmaster Liu, could you please explain to me what is so great about Grandmaster Song's pill? Liu Yizhen bowed to Zhuo Fan first. It was a gesture of respect to seniors among alchemists. Liu Yizhen was among the 10 best alchemists in the empire, yet he has never bowed, even to Vicious Pill King. He was convinced Zhuo Fan's refining skill was a cut above everyone here. He was on another level. This bow made everyone drop their jaws, even the amateur alchemists. They knew Zhuo Fan was amazing, but not this much, until Liu Yizhen, a grandmaster, bowed to him as a junior. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow, not expecting the old guy to disregard his own reputation, and nodded. This nod had another meaning. Among alchemists, secret skills were passed down through the generations, never divulged. If someone guessed some points about a pill, they could not speak without the owner's explicit accord. It would be a gross form of disrespect, cutting all ties at best or fighting to the death at worst. Liu Yizhen bowed in respect and Zhuo Fan nodded his assent. Liu Yizhen smiled. Young miss, Grandmaster Song's skill is beyond amazing. Did you know that Grandmaster Song's secret refining skill is the legendary long-lost skill, Sacred Dragon Evocation? What? Ancient secret skill? The people froze in shock. Even Long Ju's group, as well as Huanpu Qingyun's, they all went slack-jawed. The ancient refining skill had been lost for so long they became legends. It was inconceivable how such a legendary skill would appear in the hands of a youth. The people started to get excited, watching with shining eyes. Zhuo looked at Zhuo Fan incredulously. She found him too young at first. But now he could compete with Vicious Pill King and make everyone speechless. But it went far beyond that. He used an ancient secret refining skill, one long lost in legends. That was why the proud Vicious Pill King conceded. Who could contest with an alchemist that used an ancient secret refining skill? But Grandmaster Liu, why did Grandmaster Song's pill turn to waste like this? Zhuo bit her lip and rushed to ask for an answer. Shaking his head, Liu Yizhen showed great veneration. This is exactly what made Grandmaster Song's pill so miraculous. It wasn't fading, but used by all of us instead. What? His words sent ripples of shock through the audience. Liu Yizhen continued. A normal pill, regardless of grade, could only use 50% of its ingredients' effect. But the ancient secret skill Sacred Dragon Call was said to make use of everything they had. Everything was refined. Once eaten, it would immediately dissolve. That golden mist coming from the pill was its true essence. If someone swallowed it, it was the same as a 5th grade pill. But it was instead dispersed to the surrounding, and everyone else benefited from it. Now it has been used up. It is no different than leftover material. This is why I immediately felt deep regret when I said you could split the pill. I see. I now understand why I felt so energized after breathing in the pill's aroma. They all agreed and looked at Zhuo Fan with admiration. Grandmaster Liu, why did the grade drop? Zhuo asked her most pressing question. This had to do with judging who was in first place. Liu Yizhen's face froze and shook his head awkwardly. Ha ha ha, I'm not sure either. I have only read some records regarding this ancient secret refining skill. The only one who knows its secrets is only Grandmaster Song. Whoosh, in a blink, eyes whipped to Zhuo Fan. Zhuo was no different. Zhuo Fan raised his eyebrows and grinned evilly. Want to know? He, but I won't tell you unless you beg for it. You, Zhuo glared with hatred at him. She may have been disrespectful, but not enough to condone such constant mockery. But that's how petty Zhuo Fan was. He looked askance, clearly meaning to evoke others to know his thoughts. On your knees and beg for it, or yours truly won't say a word. I already displayed my skill and earned my right as the first place. Now you want me to share my secrets with the whole crowd." His attitude allowed others to understand the reason, so even if they were in the Drifting Flowers edifice, they lifted their fists. "Beg, beg, beg," the crowd roared with mighty force, shaking the entire Drifting Flowers arena. Huangpu Qingyun's mood darkened. He didn't think Zhuo Fan had such skill to turn this around and grasp everyone's hearts. This was the way of a ruler. This man must not be allowed to live. Huangpu Qingyun glared with hatred. His followers nodded. Liu Yizhen didn't think much of the scene and only shook his head. "Grandmaster Song is such a prankster, ha ha ha." With the hall shouting beg, Zhuo was on the verge of tears, while Zhuo Fan just leaned on the cauldron impassive. It seemed he'd only give up after she kneeled. Helpless, Zhuo's tears flowed and her slender legs began to buckle, but an angry roar came from the terrace. "Song Yu, stop playing around." Zhuo Fan was startled and looked at the angry Chu Qingcheng. With a helpless smile, he relented in her favor and shook his hand at Zhuo. "Whatever, it was only a joke. You take me for such a heartless man." "I do." Zhuo didn't dare say it, however. She gave a look of thanks towards Chu Qingcheng. "As to why yours truly used this secret skill, you have Vicious Pill King to thank for that. He was so careless in spilling some green python scale mixture after all." Now that Zhuo was off the hook, Zhuo Fan started explaining. But the first thing he did was drag Vicious Pill King into this. The crowd had become calmed, listening enraptured to Grandmaster Song's lecture of his skill. "Grandmaster Song is still blaming me for my inadvertent mistake." Vicious Pill King squinted. Shaking his hand, Zhuo Fan shook his head. "Why, I would never. I am only thanking you. Sacred Dragon Evocation has the dragon word in it and had to have an ingredient related to dragons. The Yang pill had no such ingredient. Meanwhile, a snake was, for all intents and purposes, can be considered a small dragon. Your mistake granted me the liberty to use this secret art, but the snake is yin, while the Yang pill only had Yang ingredients. And Grandmaster Song's Yang Dragon pill is also Yang. I did not sense any yin inside." Vicious Pill King's eyelid twitched, clenching his fists. Snickering, Zhuo Fan mocked. "You think the likes of you can unravel the mysteries of an ancient secret skill. Yin and Yang restrain each other, but can also interchange. To evoke the Yang out of this yin, green python scale extract, I had to rely on yours truly's essence to wash it down with additional incentive." Holding his belly, Zhuo Fan laughed out. "Pea is water, and water is yin. But a virgin is pure Yang. Yours truly used his pure Yang pea to change yin into Yang, to turn a snake into a dragon. Not only has the ingredients been refined completely, but there was also the extreme Yang dragon power. This allowed the second grade pill to rise to the 5th grade. A pity that once the pill is split, the pill's effect starts to leak along with the dragon power, lowering its grade and potency. Now everyone understood and looked at Zhuo Fan with a greater admiration for his secret refining skill. Vicious Pill King was no different, clapping his hands with force, fully admitting defeat in his heart. "Grandmaster Song is unparalleled in his refining skill. I concede this round to you without remorse. However, Grandmaster Song, you're at a disadvantage. The next round is mine." Vicious Pill King's eyes flickered with killing intent. Zhuo Fan grinned. The two locked eyes, and even a blind man could see they were at odds. Tao Danyang was moved. It caught her by surprise, the fact that Zhuo Fan could make Vicious Pill King admit his loss. His future was boundless. Then she started worrying. Vicious Pill King's last words pointed at Zhuo Fan's weaker cultivation. Even with Zhuo Fan's unparalleled refining skill, he could not beat Vicious Pill King. Helpless, Tao Danyang was thinking on how to settle this and not let such a great youth fall here. It was only now that Zhuo spoke after having made her decision. In this round, 39 passed and 11 forfeited. The first place stays with Grandmaster Song. The second place is Vicious Pill King's. Her words traveled far, and the crowd began to wonder why so many people withdrew. They had no way to know that many felt inferior after they witnessed Zhuo's refining skill. Their confidence was in shambles. If an alchemist had no confidence, how could they refine? "Wonderful, we won another round," Peony Overseer cried in joy. The other two women were also sporting smiles. Song Yu was a fake, but his refining skill couldn't be more genuine. If it weren't for him, Vicious Pill King would have been in the lead. If things continue like this, the best alchemist in the empire would finally be defeated. Dong Tianba saw them so excited and hesitated to speak. "Edifice Lord Chu, I may be presumptuous, but I am certain that man is not Brother Song Yu. To be blunt, me and Brother Song Yu are very close. There's no way he's a virgin. So what if he isn't Song Yu?" It was Zhuo Dandan who spoke in his defense. "No matter who he is, he will always be my darling." Chu Qingcheng and the overseers nodded. Chu Qingcheng smiled. "Dong Tianba, his killing intent must have scared you, to the point where you did not manage to hear our conversation. Young Master Zai already stated that that man is a friend of his and not Song Yu. Then what happened to Brother Song Yu? Isn't it obvious? He killed him, why else would he dare take his face and run around the place? Zai Tianyang laughed, patting Dong Tianba's shoulder, then admired Chu Qingcheng. Great sister-in-law knows how to handle her husband well. I will rely on you in the future to get this brat to fall in line. Don't ever let him harm others, especially me. Chu Qingcheng blushed and hid it with anger. Young Master Zai, what nonsense are you saying? Nothing in particular. Zai Tianyang blinked as he stated in all seriousness, that brat is petty and spiteful. If someone punched him, he replies with 10 slashes of the sword. But your earlier words restricted his nefarious temper. Great sister-in-law is highly valued in his heart. Perhaps only you can curb his murderous streak and also appreciate him more. Chu Qingcheng's blush was fierce and demurely nodded, but her heart was overjoyed. Is he that frightening? Chu Qingcheng muttered. Frowning, Zai Tianyang looked at Long Jiu and the rest, then they all nodded. They all held fear in their eyes, no exception. Sighing, Chu Qingcheng smiled broadly. If such a terrifying man changed for her, that meant his feelings for her were real. My ideal husband is like Qingshan, a dashing hero willing to risk his life for me. Today I have found him. Chu Qingcheng watched Zhuo Fan with a warmer gaze, her feelings for him growing ever more. Boom. In the western stand, Huangpu Qingyun banged the table. The heavily cracked stone table turned to dust. The others by his side jumped in fear and reeled a step. The second round is another failure, and Elder Yan even admitted defeat. Tell me, does he have any chance of getting the Bodhai root and that punk's head on a platter? Huangpu Qingyun's eyes were chilling to the bone. None made a peep. Lin Zixin's eyes shifted. This is a perfect chance to kiss some ass. He advised, second young master, please quell your anger. Elder Yan is known as the Vicious Pill King, the best alchemist in the empire. A slight oversight causing him to lose 2 rounds is of no consequence. Believe in him as he is sure to have a plan. Lin Zixin's words were more or less the same as Fifth Elder's, shoving the blame on Yan's song regardless of the outcome. Too bad, this time was different. Huangpu Qingyun's eyebrows trembled, trying his hardest to calm himself. Oh. Since Elder Lin believes Elder Yan so much, then I will hold you responsible if he fails. Al-Awa, Lin Zixin was dumbstruck. Why aren't you treating me the same as you were to the Fifth Elder? Watching this scene play out, the Fifth Elder was now laughing and mocking him. Lin Zixin is an opportunist but has no ass-kissing techniques. Copying me is not helpful at all and will be detrimental instead. Playing the same flattery won't work. Huangpu Qingyun valued Yan's song greatly before. Therefore, raising Yan's song in esteem worked then. But now that he failed a second time, Huangpu Qingyun's thoughts on Yan's song have changed. He is pissed at Elder Yan's inability to do anything. Praising him now would only set Huangpu Qingyun off and directing his anger onto you. Fawning is also a skill, so as an opportunist, you better start practicing it. Elder cackled in his heart, while Lin Zixin was on the verge of crying. What bad luck, I always, ding, a clear ringing signaled the start of the third round. Zioya looked at the 40 alchemists. This round will be regarding your refining ability. At her words, everyone focused on the first place, on Zhuo Fan. They witnessed his ability and were clear that Grandmaster Song ruled in the refining skill department. One man sighed, another watched the sky in sadness, both equally depressed for having no chance to win. Only the top 10 alchemists kept a calm face. They knew that alchemy was based on refining skills, but it was not the only deciding factor to make a pill. After 2 rounds, they realized the conditions were increasingly harder to fulfill. As the grade of the pills required increased, Zhuo Fan began to reveal his weakness. This was what they've been waiting for. Zhuo Fan was indeed a grand genius of alchemy, but wasn't infallible. He could not use his refining skill and refine any kind of pill he wanted. In this round, Grandmasters need to refine a 5th grade pill. Zioya declared. Zhuo Fan began to frown, while the top 10 alchemists expected it. Vicious Pill King, in particular, showed his sinister smile towards Zhuo Fan. The faster you can make it, the higher you will climb. The first to finish will enter the Pill King finals of this competition. Begin. They started igniting their Yuan Qi flame just as she finished. Most had no choice but to make use of the cauldron. But only Vicious Pill King and Tao Danyang refined with their hand. These 2 skills were far higher than theirs, but when people looked at Zhuo Fan, they saw him just standing there. Even his expression was grave. Oh no, he's in trouble. Long Jiu was getting anxious. The others too watched him nervously. Peony Overseer with her fiery temper was even more so. Uncle Jiu, what's wrong? Wasn't he unparalleled so far? Why isn't he moving? Long Jiu stared at the frozen Zhuo Fan and sighed, because of this brat's weakness. Weakness? Yes, Long Jiu spoke gravely. He won in the first 2 rounds against everyone and even made Vicious Pill King concede because of his incredible secret refining skill. There are 3 deciding factors to an alchemist's level: cultivation, flame, and refining skill. Cultivation is used to supply the flame for longer periods of time. The flame is for refining ingredients, and the refining skill needs to be high enough to handle high-grade pills. But Longju clenched his teeth. This kid's refining skill is amazing, however that is all he has. His flame is just a normal one made from yuan qi. But what's worse, his cultivation is only in the second layer of bone tempering stage. Any alchemist with this cultivation could refine a third-grade pill at most, yet he used second-grade pill ingredients to make a fifth-grade pill. That is his limit. Now that he is competing against the other grandmasters, with fifth-grade pill ingredients being used, his flame is inadequate. Meanwhile, his cultivation is shallow. I am certain he will not be able to refine the ingredients before his yuan qi runs out. Refining such high-grade ingredients is a whole other matter. The shock was palpable and they turned to watch Zhuo Fan on his last leg, but this time with sorrow. "Master, if Darling loses, will he lose his head too? Please save him." Zhuo Dandan pleaded. Long Ju and the others weren't worried though. Zhuo Fan wasn't one who lost his head that easily. It was more correct to say others lost their heads to him. Even in the off chance he lost, he'd just stick to the basics, killing people and uprooting their any source of trouble. In their minds, he was in no trouble. They did not realize, however, how important this competition was to Zhuo Fan. He couldn't fail here. It concerned returning Chu Qingcheng's favor. The Luo clan was already running him into the ground with all its needs, and having Chu Qingcheng's drifting flowers edifice hanging overhead was too much for him to handle. Zhuo Fan was now considering whether to use the Azure Flame or not. The mysterious Azure Flame was what Zhuo Fan had got from the expert in Albeast Mountain Range. His low cultivation didn't allow control over even 1,000th of its power, but one thing was certain. This Azure Flame was a legendary flame even in the sacred domain, so 1,000th was enough to refine a high-grade pill. However, taking a deep breath, Zhuo Fan watched the top 10 alchemists hard at work. Vicious Pill King, his disciple, and Tao Danyang were the only ones relaxed. They had to have a card up their sleeve to use at the right moment in the finals. Meanwhile, the Azure Flame was Zhuo Fan's hidden trump card. Taking it out so soon would get Vicious Pill King to target him. Best leave it for last. That left him with only one choice, though somewhat volatile. Zhuo Fan sighed and made his move under the riveted eyes of the audience. They wanted to see what shocking achievement this amazing genius with a secret refining skill would give them next. Yet Zhuo Fan simply ignited a red yuan qi flame in his palm and threw fifth-grade ingredients in using hand signs. Without the godly secret refining skill, and without using the same refining ability he started with in the second round, the ingredients' refinement seemed to go nowhere fast. Zhuo Fan's display was so plain because the flame he was using was even weaker than all other alchemists. Those fifth-grade ingredients in that weak flame got refined at a snail's pace, needing a long time for even a drop to be extracted. Compared to earlier show of force, Zhuo Fan's refining time was not only average but even lackluster, as if all other alchemists' refining ability here looked far better than his. Such disparity disappointed everyone. They saw the greatest talent in alchemy climb to the top only to fall back into the mud. The top 10 alchemists watched on with regret and helplessness, but mostly with content. This punk's weakness is finally revealed in the third round. Among the snickers, Zhuo Fan's figure standing in the first spot looked quite bleak. As if to correlate his inability this round, his smugness was nowhere to be seen. Zhuo was a bit curious, speaking somewhat without meaning to. "What is wrong with Grandmaster Song in this round? He isn't himself anymore." He, that's normal. Vicious Pill King took pleasure at his plight. His refining ability had reached his peak and can go no further. Zhuo asked skeptically, "Elder Yan, what do you mean?" The other alchemists started letting out a carefree laughter. "What I mean is that he can only refine low-grade pills." Still not understanding, Vicious Pill King was quite patient and enjoyed explaining this to her. In alchemy, flames are divided into gentle and fierce flames. Common ingredients for low-grade pills use the gentle flame, otherwise the fierce flame will burn them. And when refining high-grade ingredients, the gentle flame falls short. But this punk's cultivation is too low to control the fierce flame. He has no way to refine fifth-grade ingredients. Vicious Pill King snickered, then mocked Zhuo Fan. "This is your weakness, am I right, brat?" Ignoring him, Zhuo Fan was still as patient as he was calm, focused on his refining. But how did Grandmaster Song refine the fifth-grade Yang Dragon pill? Shaking his head, Vicious Pill King derided. It was made with second-grade ingredients, forcefully refined, then turned into a fifth-grade pill. It is not a true fifth-grade pill, but even I must admit that refining skill is indeed legendary. If he were to refine fifth-grade ingredients, he could make a seventh-grade pill. What a shame, he. The people looked on with lament at his words. Their hearts were filled with the odd sense of grief when they gazed upon the lonely yet persevering figure. No one knew when, but for the thousands of alchemists around watching, Zhuo Fan caught all their attention. The shock Zhuo Fan's secret refining skill instilled was far too great. With how lonely he looked now, he made others feel sad. Vicious Pill King, however, couldn't be more chipper, casting stones at the helpless, kicking him when he was down. This earned the public's distaste. "Grandmaster Song, you can do it, we're cheering for you." At some point, someone cried out in encouragement. After one, many soon followed, and cheers broke out everywhere. "Grandmaster Song, you're the greatest. Grandmaster Song, we love you. Grandmaster Song, I want your babies." The entire Drifting Flowers arena was aboil. Zai Tianyang and his group were dumbstruck by the waves after waves of cheering. This punk made one pill and now has everyone siding with him. There was even one saying she wants his babies. "What does he have that eye? The Grand Sword Marquise abodes young master don't." Turning around, Zhuo Fan gave a small wave and the crowd settled. Not even 7 houses' elders had such a sway over the masses. "Thank you all for your support." Zhuo Fan's face was solemn, his words sincere. "I hail from a third-rate clan and have already shown everything that I've learned so that I may die without regrets. On the path of alchemy, what we refine is our hearts, and my heart wants is to be the best. I only ask that you watch my final refining and honor my parting." With his final word, Zhuo Fan returned to work hard on his refining, the difficult 5th-grade ingredients. But the heaven-toppling pill written on his cloak had everyone in tears. He was no mere genius of alchemy, but a man who pledged himself to alchemy, a hero with a noble pursuit. He was not like Vicious Pill King and the others, making use of vile acts while refining. No, his heart was being refined to be the best in the world. It was a pure and grand heart of gold. "You are so modest, Grandmaster Song. Please receive this salute from us." The eliminated alchemists watched the persevering Zhuo Fan despite knowing he'd fail. Their heart was filled with admiration, especially those who forfeited. On the eastern stand, Huangpu Qingyun laughed, unrestrained. No matter how much sympathy he'd garner, his life was through, as far as the 7 houses were concerned. Would these third-rate clans dare rebel against Regent Estate, the strongest of the 7 houses? On the terrace, Chu Qingcheng and the overseers knew he was a fake, but their eyes reddened still. Zhuo Fan's grieved figure, like a tragic hero, touched a soft spot in their womanly hearts. Xiao Dandan was bawling her lungs out, taking Zhuo Fan's words as a eulogy to himself. Zai Tianyang curled his lip in helplessness. He's good, faking again. However, he should avoid faking it like before, allowing someone else to trip him up while he does it. He, this brat is shrewd. How can he fall for the same trick twice? Longju shook his head. The way I see it, he has something big planned. If not, he would not change tunes so quickly. What plan? Rubbing her red eyes, Long Kui sniffed. This brat is so evil. If he's not making people angry, he's making them cry. Long Ju was out of sorts. Little Kui, don't you also understand that he is acting? Why are you also crying? Long Kui complained. I was too engrossed. Staggering Long Ju and Zai Tianyang laughed bitterly and wiped the cold sweat off their brows. Women, in the arena, Vicious Pill King had finished refining the ingredients and was beginning to combine them. The other alchemists were also halfway done with refining, but Zhuo Fan's refining hadn't even passed 20%. Vicious Pill King saw it and mocked, "Punk, it's pointless to grasp the heart of the public. Even if you stir those trash into saving you, they have no power. Just wait patiently for me to climb onto the first spot and take your head." I wouldn't speak so soon if I were you." Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow, then gestured at the slowly refined ingredients, Universe Palm. With a muffled sound, light smoke started drifting from his hand. Vicious Pill King laughed, "Ha ha ha, killing the fire before the ingredients finished refining will destroy them. You should work hard even if you lose. Or is this your last act before dying?" Zhuo Fan ignored his yapping. He was nervous inside, his attention riveted to his slowly opening fist. A pity that what greeted him was ashes and not a complete pill. Failure. Zhuo Fan's heart sank and looked at Vicious Pill King. His concoction has melded. The only thing that is left is to shape it into a pill. If this went on, the third round's first place would be his. Taking a deep breath, Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed coldly and his mouth perked into an evil grin. "Old fart, you dared play tricks on yours truly before. This time I will return it tenfold." Heavens, what's going on? Grandmaster Song, who brought a failed batch of refining last time, has lost for the first time in 3 rounds. Is Elder Yan's deduction correct? Can Grandmaster Song really not make a 5th-grade pill? Zhuo Fan opened his fist and showed the black ash. Xiaoya even cried. She couldn't get to speak as a sharp glare landed on her. Shivering, Xiaoya watched Zhuo's eyes in fear and closed her mouth. But her cry was already loud enough and everyone heard it. People started to feel uneasy and watched Zhuo Fan with worry. Those high on the terrace were even more nervous. Since the start of the 100-pill meeting, Vicious Pill King had been stifled, especially the arrogant air that surrounds him. This is all because of Zhuo Fan. If Zhuo Fan lost, then who would be Vicious Pill King's match? Tao Danyang? Haha, she was quite a renowned 6th-grade alchemist, but Vicious Pill King never took her seriously. Everyone knew Zhuo Fan's secret ancient skill, and his talent had placed the Vicious Pill King on the 2nd spot. If Zhuo Fan was gone, he would once again be the best in the empire. The people now looked on at Zhuo Fan with hope. Even those who came only to bring some good alchemists back to their clans couldn't keep calm and looked towards Zhuo Fan. It was a disastrous loss for a young genius alchemist to lose the competition, lose his life all because of his low cultivation. But this was the reality. After his first failure, Zhuo Fan froze ashen on the spot. It felt like an unimaginable blow and sank into despair. Ah, what a pitiful child. Many women started shedding tears. Vicious Pill King was snorting, no longer paying this despairing loser any more of his time, focusing on his own pill. The yuan qi flame in his hand burned hotter, and the concoction was slowly taking the form of a pill. It wouldn't be long before Vicious Pill King finished. Meanwhile, Tao Danyang was getting nervous, trying to rush things, but her ingredients had only just finished being refined and didn't have enough time to catch up to Vicious Pill King, who was close to finishing. This was a time of crisis. Chu Qingcheng's group was also nervous, shifting their gazes from the depressed Zhuo Fan to Tao Danyang and Vicious Pill King, watching them with clenched fists and sweating in anxiety. Ha ha ha, I win. The 3rd round's first place is mine, and so is the punk's head. Just as Tao Danyang's pill took a tentative form, Vicious Pill King laughed. Among the flames in Vicious Pill King's hand, a lustrous pill appeared. The completion was now imminent. No one could stop him from being the next Pill King. Humph, you're hundreds of years too early if you think you can best me. Vicious Pill King roared in glee. It wasn't easy. That punk had pushed me back the last 2 rounds, but now I can show off my skill. The closer the pill was to finishing, the more outrageous Vicious Pill King's smile became. He was more glad now than when he made his first 7th-grade pill. Huangpu Qingyun was also nodding in satisfaction. Tao Danyang clenched her teeth in regret, and Chu Qingcheng's group was filled with hatred. Everything had turned to dust and impossible to come back from. Vicious Pill King would become the winner of the 3rd round and was one step closer to earning Drifting Flowers Edifice's Bodhi root. No one could stop him now. Drifting Flowers Edifice would fall at this moment. Achu, a sudden and violent sneeze echoed around, and the fire in Vicious Pill King's hand exploded. Vicious Pill King lost focus for a moment, and his beard and eyebrows burned alongside the pill to ashes. Oh, this shocked the crowd silly, looking at each other in a daze. Why did it blow up all of a sudden? The best alchemist in the empire wouldn't make such a mistake. Trembling, Vicious Pill King's body froze. He turned his head with a face so livid, an explosion was about to occur. And where was he looking at? It was nowhere else but at Zhuo Fan. The others also looked to find in shock that the depressed Zhuo Fan was no more, back to his usual self and sporting an extra sly grin. Below his nose there were 2 trails of green snot dangling. SSS, he sniffed the green snot back in, and Zhuo Fan smiled as he rubbed his nose in apology. Ha ha ha, do forgive me, Elder Yan. I must have caught a cold. Everyone's eyes bugged out. Their faces twitched and couldn't figure out if they should cry or laugh. Grandmaster Song, your excuse is beyond lame, even worse than Vicious Pill King's. Since when do cultivators catch colds? After qi condensation stage, no minor disease works all right. Plus, you're in the bone tempering stage for crying out loud. If you wanted payback, then do it. No one's stopping you. But do everyone a favor and pick a better excuse next time. Do you think we're 3-year-olds? Everyone could see it. Not to mention, Zhuo Fan particularly targeted Vicious Pill King to become the victim of the explosion. Vicious Pill King was so angry he was about to lose his mind. He was only a blink away from finishing his 5th-grade pill and winning. But at this critical juncture, Zhuo Fan played a trick on him and made all his effort go out in smoke. It was the same as looking 5 decades for the treasure of his dreams, and just when he reached for it, someone pounded it with a hammer. Such pain was enough to make even his heart cry, P-punk. I will kill you. Vicious Pill King's shaking was obvious to anyone with eyes. He was pushing the anger back, though he didn't manage to hold everything in as his shout released his mighty power, causing the flames of other alchemists to sway. Backed by incredible pressure, Vicious Pill King struck a palm towards Zhuo Fan, yet Zhuo Fan stood there smiling like everything was normal in the world. Whoosh, a silk ribbon flew that locked Vicious Pill King's palm in place. Chu Qingcheng's figure stood next to Zhuo Fan and pulled on the ribbon to divert Vicious Pill King's attack. Elder Yan, this is the 100-pill meeting of Drifting Flowers Edifice. If you want to cause trouble, please leave, Chu Qingcheng glared. Gnashing his teeth, Vicious Pill King stared at Zhuo behind Chu Qingcheng and knew it wouldn't be easy to attack now. He pointed at Zhuo Fan and rebuked, "Edifice Lord Chu, it's not me who started it. This punk broke the rules and disturbed my refining first." "When did I disturb you?" Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow, not backing an inch. Snorting, Vicious Pill King pointed at the crowd. "Everyone saw you. My pill was almost finished and your sneeze ruined everything." Mishap," Zhuo Fan smiled. "Didn't I say already? I caught a cold." "Cut the crap. Can a bone-tempering cultivator even catch a cold?" "You cut it. A 7th-grade alchemist can splash his mixture, but yours truly can't catch a cold." Zhuo Fan bit back at every turn. Vicious Pill King stammered for a while, tongue-tied. He was waiting for this. In any case, there was no way a bone-tempering cultivator could catch a cold, nor a 7th-grade alchemist could splash his concoction. Since he used such an excuse before, then this brat could use it too. Vicious Pill King hated himself from being such a blabbermouth. He only had to use that old brain of his more and think of a better excuse and get the upper hand. However, now this punk had ruined everything with but a sneeze. Worse, there was no way to refute it. Taking deep breaths, Vicious Pill King calmed down with much difficulty. His green eyes flashed with hatred at Zhuo Fan. "You sure have gal, punk. Your snot was too damn precise. It chose the perfect timing to land on my pill and ruin it at the last moment. If the fire was still at the strongest, then your snot would have been burnt instead of landing in the crack of the pill and making it explode. Ha ha ha, what a genius. You are so precise in his sneezing that I have to admire you." Vicious Pill King's killing intent grew as sarcasm dripped from his tone. But Zhuo Fan took it in stride. "You're far too kind. It's because we are the very best. Great minds think alike, just look. You are Vicious Pill King and I am Heaven-toppling Pill. You splashed some of your concoction and I caught. Don't you goddamn dare say you caught a cold." Vicious Pill King cut him off in anger. "I don't want to hear it." So he turned around, going back to his spot to begin a new refinement. Zhuo Fan shrugged. Chu Qingcheng saw Vicious Pill King go inside, knowing that trouble had been averted. With most of their power in this old coot's hands, and in Regent Estate's favor, falling out now would mean their loss. Thankfully, he still cared about his face and didn't want the world to know how despicable the Pill King Hall was. Quickly diffusing the situation before matters blew out of proportions. Otherwise, Chu Qingcheng turned Zhuo Fan and spoke so only the two of them heard. "Dear, can you tell me who you are?" A shiver went through Zhuo Fan as he looked at her. "Why you? How did you know?" "How could I not?" Chu Qingcheng smiled and reproached. "Dear, I'm waiting for your honest answer. Just don't shout, all right." "Edifice Lord Chu, it's all just a misunderstanding. I really didn't know this was what you meant at the time." Zhuo Fan was waving his hands frantically, then caught Vicious Pill King beginning his second refining and was getting nervous. "We will talk about this later. After I kick this old coot out." He started to run as soon as he finished speaking. Chu Qingcheng was startled and was more disappointed than bewildered. It wasn't narcissistic of her when she always thought that her character and appearance were outstanding. She saw with her own eyes how 99% of the men who looked at her had dirty thoughts, and even those exceptions would at least talk to her like normal human beings, but none went as far as to run away. Zhuo Fan ran as if a crone was out to get him. She couldn't help but feel angry. Why is this brat so different as compared to other men? Others will try to act like gentlemen on such occasions, eloquent and smooth-talk me into doing what they want. Well, I guess those men normally pluck the flowers of hundreds of women already. Meanwhile, this guy is still a virgin. Chu Qingcheng blushed, admonishing herself, "Just what am I thinking?" But she had no way of knowing what was truly on Zhuo Fan's mind. He ran because he once climbed to the demonic emperor position. He knew full well that righteousness and women were the biggest dead weights in a man's pursuit for power. He wanted to regain his demon emperor power, to rise above and beyond. And to do that, he had to cast aside such weights. Chu Qingcheng didn't return to the terrace. She stood there, watching the only man who moved her heart running towards his first-place spot. Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan only had a thirst for victory in his eyes, tacking a side glance as his returned archenemy, Vicious Pill King, now that he got his anger more or less under control, smiled wickedly. "Brat, why did you even return?" "To make pills, of course," Zhuo Fan sighed inside. Vicious Pill King is the best in the Empire after all. He recovered his calm after just a few breaths. Few people were capable of such a feat. He, making pills? More like you came here to bother me. You overestimate me. How could I possibly dare to mess with you? Zhuo Fan snickered. Shaking his head, Vicious Pill King was refining his ingredients with one hand while he grinned. If not to mess around, then what other point is there? With your snail-pace speed, there's no hope you can win. So that's why you thought I came to mess around. Zhuo Fan was quite calm. Vicious Pill King eyed him with contempt. Ha ha ha, if this was your plan all along, it may not have been half bad. Stopping me from making a 5th-grade pill would get that Tao Danyang to finish first. Too bad, you were too conceited and spoke that nonsense about letting anyone who took first get your head. Wouldn't that also apply to Tao Danyang? Startled, the people's hearts grew nervous. Indeed, in this competition, only Zhuo Fan couldn't afford to lose. Once he fell from the top, his head would fall with him. Ha ha ha, I will enjoy killing you just as if I was the one who won. You think Tao Danyang can stop me? Vicious Pill King cackled, finally venting and releasing his anger. Chu Qingcheng frowned in worry for Zhuo Fan with a hint of reproach in her eyes. Be as insufferable as you want, but within limits. This old guy has leverage and will have your head. Yet this is just how Qingshan would have acted. Chu Qingcheng watched on with love and hatred. Was she going to lose her loved one a second time? Tao Danyang was close to finishing when she heard this. Her hand trembled and the process stopped. Old hag, go on then. If you won't finish, someone else will. Zhuo Fan turned from her to Vicious Pill King and his eyes grew colder. Old coot, I told you. I will never leave this spot and no one can take it from me. Not you, not anyone. Zhuo Fan's hand suddenly ignited into a raging fire and gestured for tens of ingredients to fly inside. Watching the flame, it was no different from Vicious Pill King's or the other profound heaven experts' Yuan Qi flame. But after one breath, Zhuo Fan was sweating. Vicious Pill King laughed even harder. You little prick, your cultivation is not nearly enough to sustain such a strong flame. You're looking to die if you keep this up. Humph, narrow-minded old goat, yours truly will show you the difference between us. Zhuo Fan shouted and slapped the burning hand. With a bang, the flame burned twice as strong and consumed all of Zhuo Fan's Yuan Qi in an instant. At this moment, Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed and his burning hand made a fist. The fire and the ingredients were all now squeezed inside. In one blink, the towering flame had vanished into thin air. Only Zhuo Fan held his fist tightly. It was bright red and billowing smoke leaked from between his fingers. This whole process of putting the ingredients inside the flame and closing his fist took a few short breaths. Many didn't even catch him doing it. Scratching their heads, many looked at each other lost, not understanding what was going on. Vicious Pill King stared fixed at the fist and laughed. I was wondering what you're planning, but it's the same as before. Isn't it destroying all ingredients again? With ragged breath and ashen-faced, Zhuo Fan collapsed from exhaustion. But his smile turned unprecedentedly wicked. It seemed to convey endless confidence. Old coot, I may have done the same, but the result isn't. Taunting Vicious Pill King with his eyes, Zhuo Fan pumped his fist and then opened it. Everyone, the refining of a 5th-grade pill is now complete. Zhuo Fan's shout resounded throughout the hall and a golden pill gleaming brilliantly spun around in his palm. The soothing fragrance, the luster, they all confirmed that it was indeed a 5th-grade pill. In an instant, the audience devolved into chaos. Just what did Grandmaster Song do? How did he suddenly refine a pill? The top 10 alchemists closest to Zhuo Fan cried incessantly, "That's impossible." They saw it most clearly. How Zhuo Fan turned a batch of ingredients into a pill in an instant. But this was also why they just couldn't believe it and couldn't accept it. They not only never seen such a godly refining skill, but did not even catch a rumor of it. Liu Yizhen watched Zhuo Fan in a daze, almost forgetting about his own task. His brain froze. He didn't understand ancient refining skills, but read records of them. Yet none of them held any reference that might allude to what this heaven-defying skill was. He made a 5th-grade pill just by closing his fist. If refining is that easy, what pride would the alchemists of today have? A pill taking 2 hours to make just took seconds in your fist. On the terrace, Long Ju and the rest were dumbfounded. How was this alchemy? It was clearly pulling something out of thin air. This refining skill was too goddamned insane. It was no different from swindling. On the eastern terrace, Huangpu Qingyun and his men were dumbstruck as well. This brat, Huangpu Qingyun, was so surprised he could barely speak. His men didn't fare any better. The only eyes not looking at the pill was Zhuo Fan, who was holding it. Swallowing hard, Zhuo Fan waved the pill before the flabbergasted Vicious Pill King. Old coot, ever heard of Universe Palm? Vicious Pill King blinked hard and swirled his head. He looked at Zhuo Fan like looking at a freak. He stammered for a long time, but all that came out was a garbled mess. The shocking Universe Palm was unlike any ancient secret skill he used before. This was a heaven-defying ability. The alchemists seemed to have been in a dream. A refining skill that defined the heavenly laws actually existed in the world. Snorting, Zhuo Fan said, "Did you see, old coot? This is our difference. The difference between heaven-toppling pill and Vicious Pill King is as big as heaven and earth." Vicious Pill King watched him dazed and couldn't get any word out in rebuke. Zhuo Fan sneered with a shake of his head and showed the pill to Zioya. "Forgive me, my cultivation isn't enough and could only refine a high 5th-grade pill. A perfect one shouldn't influence my spot, right?" The alchemists' faces twitched, feeling like crying. Making a 5th-grade pill in a blink is heaven-defying enough, so why in God's name do you have to make it a high one too? Are you trying to steal our bread? Zhuo felt dizzy. Zhuo Fan had to call her out a few times before he got a reaction. She rushed to receive the pill and assess it in detail. Grandmaster Song's high 5th grade pill is successful. He keeps the first place and enters the final round to compete for the position of Pill King. At her words, Zhuo Fan turned around and spread his arms. He looked at the audience, his cloak billowing, a manner exceedingly arrogant, and shouted, "As long as I stand in this spot, no one can take it." Grandmaster Song, the crowd's passion was ignited and pumped their fist as they called out his name. The Pill King finals had yet to start, but he had already become a Pill King in their eyes. Hearing the rumbling and fanatic cheers shaking even the heavens, Zai Tianyang looked envious. This punk does the same wherever he goes. If the world was in chaos, he'd be an overlord by now. Ha ha ha, even peace can't stop this kid's rise. Longju caressed his beard, his eye trembling with admiration. I knew long ago he isn't someone to mess with, but it still leaves me in awe whenever I see him. I can't help but wonder what's his limit. The others heard him and turned to Zhuo Fan, being the star of the show, acting just like a king. They had to nod at Longju's assessment. Zhuo Dandan listened to them praise Zhuo Fan, and pride got to her head, her heart sweetened like honey. I found the best husband. He is leagues above the other men. Her thoughts were echoed by Chu Qingcheng as well. Seeing Zhuo Fan worshipped by the crowd, the cheers he evoked unknowingly changed her slim body's position, striking a dignified and imposing look as well as love-struck eyes. Every woman, even Chu Qingcheng, hoped to find a shoulder to lean on. However, this was Drifting Flower's edifice, a place where women governed. Furthermore, the people of Tianyu whose shoulders she could lean on could be counted on one hand. Not to mention, some had evil thoughts and were unworthy of trust. Not too long ago, she rested her weary body and hoped on the strong-armed Huangpu Qingyun, only to find out the latter chose his house over her. In spite of it all, Zhuo Fan came through in the end. She took him as a mere child and used him to comfort her heart, but she slowly came to realize that this man was the only one worthy of her trust. The praises, the veneration, and the kowtowing of the crowd was still ongoing, shaking the sky and jarring even the ears of the alchemists, meddling with their refining. Zhuo was in the arena gesticulating all over the place and demanding silence. Don't shout. Please remain, but no one heard her. Her sharp voice was drowned in the flood of praises. The only thing she could do was stomp in distress. Grinning, Zhuo Fan raised a hand to catch everyone's attention. The uproar from before was gone in an instant, like it never existed. The crowd seemed to have faded from the silence, with only the flames of the alchemists in the arena making small burning noises. Everyone, other alchemists are still refining. Please keep quiet for me. Zhuo Fan calmly flung his hair. There were nods all around and even some zipping their mouths. Zhuo was exasperated. Whose goddamn competition is this? Grandmaster Song is too damn liked. Zai Tianyang's face twitched. Damn it, this punk is showing off again. In the eastern stand, Huangpu Qingyun's mood sank ever lower. The bigger Zhuo Fan's popularity was, the harder it was for him to act, and this was something he did not want to see. As Zhuo Fan gained his current fame through alchemy, this was also the only way to crush it. And the only one up to the task was Vicious Pill King. But Vicious Pill King's confidence had begun to falter at this point. Looking at him, one could see Vicious Pill King ignoring everything around him and focused on refining his pill with all haste. The situation had gone out of his expectations. Instead of losing, Zhuo Fan kept his first spot in the third round, while Vicious Pill King was now on his second round of refining, putting him in last place. The only thing that worked as intended was his speed, still very much capable of overtaking the others. Zhuo Fan knew this as well, and his grin turned into a sly smirk. A shiver struck Vicious Pill King out of the blue, but his mind was on refining. Suddenly, a flame flickered and Tao Danyang put out her flame, leaving behind a spinning and shining pill in her hand. Tao Danyang refined a high 5th grade pill. She enters the Pill King round. Zhuo's crisp voice resounded. Zhuo Fan raised his eyebrow and directed his belligerent eyes along with his flout at Vicious Pill King. Oh, even the hag finished. Elder Yan, didn't you say something about taking first place? How come you didn't even make it second place? Vicious Pill King's heart boiled with anger, despite his quiet state. He knew Zhuo Fan's aim to mess up his concentration and ruin the refining. Replying would fall into Zhuo Fan's trap, so he chose to bear it in silence. No matter what insults Zhuo Fan threw at him, he would ignore them. This time, Zhuo Fan had a lot of time on his hand, time which the Vicious Pill King needed. He was rushing as fast as possible, or the chance of elimination would be high. At that point, the problem wasn't getting the Bodhi route, but saving his reputation. Zhuo Fan knew Vicious Pill King's mental state and wasn't worried. When you want to hit a person where it hurts, you need to do it at the precise time. It can't be too early or too late, and when you decide to go in for the attack, make sure he is sent to hell, else there will be heavy retaliation. As such, Zhuo Fan's nagging was only setting up the playing field. He was simmering the opponent and would only truly act when the perfect chance availed itself. High 5th grade pill, refined. A familiar voice suddenly came, and Yan Fu showed the pill in his hand with pride. Zhuo Fan's eyelid twitched and laughed. Elder Yan, you taught one amazing disciple. He surpassed you, but now another spot in the finals slips from your grasp. Vicious Pill King didn't reply, but his raging glare pierced his prized pupil. The proud and cheerful Yan Fu felt a frosty pair of eyes watching him. When he discovered they were from his master, he started shivering and lowered his head, sweating bullets. He had now realized his blunder. In this competition, how could a disciple dare finish refining before his master? Wasn't this taking his master's limelight, openly defying him? He regretted it until his innards turned green. But what was done was done. Vicious Pill King also didn't waste time arguing with his moronic disciple, rushing to finish his own pill. Oh ho, that's Vicious Pill King for you. He can still hold it in. Zhuo Fan scratched his nose and smiled faintly at Yan's song. Ha ha ha, I must say, I do admire Elder Yan's staunch character, able to bear even your disciple's disgrace. Too bad you fell for it regardless. Vicious Pill King only snorted, knowing it all to be a ploy to mess with his head. He would fall for the trap if he truly replied. Uncaring if he heard or not, Zhuo Fan kept on talking. Did you know? I failed the first time I used the universe palm. Vicious Pill King's ears peeled without wanting to. He knew it was all a trap, but not even Vicious Pill King could block his ears when it came to a heaven-defying alchemy skill. With a vicious grin, Zhuo Fan resumed, I failed because the flame was too weak. I was perfectly aware of this even before I started. I didn't think of succeeding, just trying it out. In brief, I failed on purpose. Squinting, Vicious Pill King's heart skipped alongside his flame. He hastily calmed himself and resumed refining, but his hearing was now sharper. I only assumed the posture of losing for your benefit, while also earning the other's sympathy. All of it was to lower your guard, or my sneeze would have been stopped by you. With his jerking, Vicious Pill King's flame also trembled. He finally turned his head, so you acted right where the pill was at a crucial point, when I was most relaxed because of imminent success. Punk, such a vicious ploy is no less than you gickies. Ha ha ha, don't please. You're flattering me, Elder Yan. Zhuo Fan said, a plan is something that makes use of all available elements around oneself. Elder Yan said that these people can't save me no matter how stirred they are, and you are indeed correct. They may not be able to save me, but they can help me deceive an old geezer. If you weren't taken by my wretched display, I fear you wouldn't have lowered your vigilance around me so quickly. Vicious Pill King clenched his empty fist. He hated himself for being toyed with by a brat at his age. Ha ha ha, don't be so hard on yourself. Picking up on his thoughts, Zhuo Fan laughed. Since you've always been focused on alchemy, you're not that erudite in schemes. Losing is only natural. If it were you, Gicky, he wouldn't have been duped. Humph, no matter what, I have suffered greatly this time, but don't get too excited. There won't be a second time. Vicious Pill King spat through clenched teeth. Arching an eyebrow, Zhuo Fan laughed hysterically. Oh, forgive me, Elder Yan. This may be a tad insolent, but I must inform you that you've been had again. Startled, Vicious Pill King didn't understand. It was now that Liu Yizhen and 2 others shouted. In these few breaths of time, 3 more people entered the final round. You may be quick in refining, your heart may be calm despite my words and didn't fail in your control, but I got to slow you down. A demonic smile was plastered on Zhuo Fan's face. Correct. Yours truly's aim isn't to mess your concentration, but to drag out your refining and kick you out. Frightened, Vicious Pill King saw more and more alchemists around him were about to finish and was anxious by the second. For the first time he was afraid. This punk is a plague. From the 3rd round, no, since the beginning he set up such a vicious trap for me to spring it. What's even more frightening is that he got me twice. Seeing the half-refined ingredients in his hand, Vicious Pill King's mood grew gloomier. He walked this earth for so many years, but this was his first meeting with a deceitful opponent like Zhuo Fan. Since there was no way to block him, kicking him out was option B. This was Zhuo Fan's plan, cooked up from the moment he heard of the 3rd round's condition. As this round was based on speed, cutting the old coot's speed would make it harder for him to enter the finals. With an evil smile, Zhuo Fan watched Vicious Pill King. The latter had been duped already, so why would he keep paying the brat any more attention? He was going as quickly as he could to finish the refining. And indeed, the best alchemist in the empire wasn't one to disappoint, speeding through the process like a bullet. In but a few breaths, he was done with refining the ingredients. Next was forming the pill. Raising an eyebrow, Zhuo Fan wasn't the least bit worried. There were some things that, even though one knew they were wrong, they still couldn't stop themselves from doing them. because they were still holding an interest in those things, and Vicious Pill King was no exception. Ahihem, Zhuo Fan coughed lightly. Elder Yan, I noticed your pill's ingredients and decided to run by you the ninth heaven-roaring dragon claw secret I used in the second round. His ears perked without his knowledge, despite knowing it was one of Zhuo Fan's ploys, despite being certain that this secret was bogus. No matter how bad it looked and felt, the temptation was too great. He wanted to know more about such a magical refining skill, especially since he was an alchemist. He was only a breath from forming the pill's shape, but now the process was halted. His speed was now under Zhuo Fan's complete control. Laughing inside, Zhuo Fan still kept a serious face. Oh, going by its name, it has a dragon and claw in it. So your hand must also take the shape of a dragon claw. What a load of obvious bull. Vicious Pill King was clear as crystal of Zhuo Fan's scheme and didn't want to listen, but he only got his ears to blame for betraying him. Yet, hearing the mention of a secret, he stopped to listen more closely, but what reached his ears was nothing more than some superficial talk from Zhuo Fan. He felt like crying, so wretched that he wanted to cut his ears off. With no choice, he turned to Zioya and blabbed like a little kid to his teacher. Judge, this brat is disrupting my refining. What Grandmaster's song is hindering you? How? Zioya looked skeptical. With a red face, Vicious Pill King gnashed his teeth. The brat keeps gallivanting in my ear and distracts me. Silence followed throughout the arena, then shortly followed by rambunctious laughter. An alchemist's most important feature was his state of mind. What kind of alchemist are you to mess up your refining from a few words? How did you become the best alchemist in the Empire anyway? Everyone looked out with mocking smiles. This never ever happened before. How could they have known Zhuo Fan's words struck a nerve? He didn't want to listen, but his ears were a whole nother matter. Everyone would feel the same if they were in his stead. The more he heard the maniacal laughter, the redder Vicious Pill King got. His face was thoroughly caked in mud. Zioya's eyelid twitched and cursed, Elder Yan, you're not a child. Why are you complaining to me about such a simple matter? Yeah, we're just chatting and getting to know each other. Why did you have to go out and tattletale? Zhuo Fan liked to make a mountain out of a molehill and jested. This launched the crowd into another round of laughter. Getting his anger under control after a few breaths, Vicious Pill King shouted at Zioya, Wench, aren't you a judge? Do you even care? Why aren't you kicking this brat out? Fine, 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 I do care, all right. Zioya shook her head helplessly and giggled an apology to Zhuo Fan. Grandmaster Song, I appreciate it if you would not speak with Elder Yan as he refines. Why not come into the guest's corner for a drink? Raising an eyebrow, Zhuo Fan said, Fine, I'll listen and won't talk. True to his words, Zhuo Fan's lips were sealed. Then, the next second, Vicious Pill King found the world around him got quiet and turned to see the other competitors. Most of them reached the step to complete their pill, while he was only at the molding phase. He sped up at once and gathered all the refined mixture into one place and took the final form of a pill. 5th grade pill completed. Another shout, another finalist. In total, there were 7 who qualified for the Pill King round. Vicious Pill King wiped the cold sweat from his brow and rushed urgently to finish the pill. Although worry had not left him in regards to a certain punk, fearful he might be up to something. For the remainder of the process, he divided his attention to Zhuo Fan's every move, who, at this point, was on his best behavior, as if he abandoned any thoughts of thwarting Yan Song's progress. This punk is faking again. The last time you got me out of carelessness, but this time I will be on guard. The more this punk is at ease, the more certain it is he is waiting for me to show the slightest slip-up. Squinting, Vicious Pill King laughed coldly inside, while his heartstrings were also stretched taut. You won't get me a second time. Judge, I finished. Another shout marked the taking of the 8th spot of the finals. Vicious Pill King took a deep breath and worked hard to keep his calm while steadying the flame in his hand. Such a crucial time needed him to calm and tranquil. Seeing the pill in his hand had taken shape, Vicious Pill King gnashed his teeth and gave his 120%. This was a key moment, and failing was not an option. The silent and unmoving Zhuo Fan looked askance at his cautious nature in making the pill. Soon, he reached the final step. All that was left was to spur the flame and condense the pill. Though he started to recall Zhuo Fan's sneeze and was overly cautious of his interference, he could not be defeated a second time with the same trick. Vicious Pill King suddenly shouted inside, and the flame towered. At this exact moment, the nightmarish sound came again. Achu Vicious Pill King's heart seized and flicked his sleeve to protect the flame while also turning his back to Zhuo Fan, but this scare shook his focus and the flame was trembling. Luckily, he was a veteran alchemist and stabilized his state of mind in a blink, preventing his pill from being ruined again. Sighing relieved, Vicious Pill King wiped his sweat and turned to see Zhuo Fan, only to find the person in question sneezing in another direction and rubbing his nose like nothing happened. Noticing the old geezer's look, Zhuo Fan eyed him back and cursed, "The hell you're looking at? Yours truly didn't disturb you." Stammering, Vicious Pill King was enraged, but no word came out. "You don't need to talk to annoy me. Your presence is enough harassment as it is." Vicious Pill King suddenly felt dead tired. Not of the body, but in the mind. He had been on this earth for many years, but never was he as exhausted as he was now. Who could go through the refining process with one's nerves stretched tighter than a violin? He had to admit to one thing, though. Never in his life had there been anyone acting the same Zhuo Fan did. Noticing his master's embarrassment, Yan Fu was taken aback. Never was there a time when his ruthless master was pushed back again and again. Turning to the first spot, he saw Zhuo Fan with a cryptic smile, and his heart chilled for some unknown reason. Tao Danyang saw Yan Song sullen and couldn't help be chipper. Chu Qingcheng saw him getting toyed by Zhuo Fan, and her eyes shined with affection. The people on the terrace already laughed their hearts out. Yan Song had been a literal plague over the 7 houses, but now he was put in his place by a newbie. One couldn't help but relish the moment. One thing was clear, though. The brat wasn't ordinary. If any took his place, they would have long failed miserably. In the end, only Demon Zhuo Fan had ever beaten Vicious Pill King. They sighed. Yan Song was wicked beyond words, and only someone more wicked than him, a demon like Zhuo Fan, could settle this Vicious Pill King. Huangpu King Yun and his men in the eastern stand watched the scared Vicious Pill King with trepidation. If this old bag of bones loses, the Bodhi root will leave my grasp. Taking deep breaths, Vicious Pill King watched the almost finished pill and worked hard to calm his mind. He knew what everyone was thinking, which made this bout was just as important for him as it was to Zhuo Fan. If Zhuo Fan lost, his head would roll. If Vicious Pill King lost, not only his name would be dragged through the mud, the Regent estate would bestow him its endless wrath. Vicious Pill King's eyes squinted and boosted the flame in his hand. The roaming pill inside the flame also lit up in a strange light. Vicious Pill King's eyes flashed and his mouth perked up at a corner in hope. "Almost there, just a bit more and I'm done with this exhausting refining. This goddamn round is so exhausting." Bam, a large sound came out of the blue. Vicious Pill King jerked and his towering flames shuddered and exploded. Vicious Pill King didn't even notice his scorched beard and eyebrows as the almost done pill was now junk. Vicious Pill King went stiff and stared into space. He turned around to see where the sound came from. Zhuo Fan scratched his head embarrassed with a dashing smile. He, do forgive me. I just couldn't hold it and farted. Was it too loud?" SSS Vicious Pill Kings couldn't stop trembling. He watched the beaming Zhuo Fan with his black beard whipping in the wind, but was unable to make one word from the sheer anger he felt. "Ha ha ha, damn, I admire this brat." Up on the terrace, Zai Tianyang slapped the table as he roared in laughter. "No matter where you go in the Tianyu Empire, all you hear about Vicious Pill King is how powerful and influential he is. But when he is here, he's actually reduced to such a wretched state. Look at him, he is on the verge of crying, so angry he can't even speak. He's so miserable, I even pity him. This brat is inhuman. How can he be like this to his elders? Ha ha ha." Zai Tianyang cursed Zhuo Fan while also laughing. Long Ju and Jian Suifeng's gazes met and smiled. But when they looked back at Zhuo Fan, their eyes were filled with admiration. Long Jai and Long Kui felt more and more complicated instead. They were of the same age and even came from one of the best houses in Tianyu, but they only got to be supporting roles for the elders of their house. While Zhuo Fan, a servant from a third-rate clan, was fighting head-to-head with the empire's most famous, and even came at an advantage at that. Why was the gap so large when they were of the same generation? Peony Overseer and Iris Overseer watched the thin figure in complete control over the whole situation in such awe, they couldn't even speak. The two tasted Vicious Pill King's cruelty and treachery on their own skin, yet they knew. Not even the entire Drifting Flowers edifice was enough to defeat him. However, today, the old geezer was like a puppet played by this mysterious youth to exhaustion. His wretched figure, unable to even cry, was something the two women never even believed was possible. Was this the same cruel and sinister Vicious Pill King? Swallowing dryly, the overseers watched each other, but it was Iris Overseer in the end who walked to Long Jiu, Uncle Jiu. "Stop being so cryptic and tell us who is this fake Song Yu already. Whose clan's young master is he, or is he an inner disciple from a sect?" Caressing his beard, Long Jiu shook his head, his eyes at a loss. "Clan, ha ha ha, his clan is nothing more than a firefly. As for sects, I never heard of any being mentioned. In short, this brat is one huge enigma. Not even Uncle Ju knows." Peony Overseer was startled as she rushed over. "Then why do you have so much faith in him?" "Faith. Humph," as if Zai Tianyang snorted. "Out of everyone I trust, he is absolutely not among them. None of you know his true nature. One second he is buddy-buddy with you, and in the next he casts you aside, changing tunes faster than you can turn a page. If you put your faith in him, you won't even know how or why you died. This made Zai Tianyang recall something, and his eyes were filled with dread. You cannot imagine a crueler and more sinister man in this world. I recall that condescending grin when he sold out Ninger, and it gives me chills even now. Their hearts shuddering, the overseers noticed Zai Tianyang being truthful. But if this man was such a monster, why were Long Jiu and the rest respecting him so? Zhao Dandan was irked by Zai Tianyang's description of Zhuo Fan and barked, "You keep saying my husband is your friend, but why do curse him behind his back and even call him a traitor?" "Me curse, ha ha ha, that's the truth of it, and he won't deny it either." Zai Tianyang laughed, "But if there's one thing I admire about him, it's his hypocrisy. Then why are you all still friends with him?" Peony Overseer asked, puzzled. They all started laughing. How could we not? Iris Overseer was thoroughly confused. None of them clearly trusted him and even said he was worse than a human, but why were they so reliant on him? Like a true friend, leaving him in charge of everything. Wasn't this a contradiction? Seemingly seeing her doubt, Zai Tianyang smiled. Iris Overseer, trust and entrusting are different things. He is not a friend worthy of trust, but he is a brother to entrust in, and that is because of his strength. Zai Tianyang pointed at the wretched, vicious Pill King. "Tell me, if it weren't for our untrustworthy friend, how would you have dealt with that old geezer?" Shuddering, the overseers now understood what he meant. It wasn't that this mysterious youth was worthy of trust to place Drifting Flowers Edifice's fate in his hand. It was that there was no one else up for the job. Lounging in his stone chair, Zai Tianyang's look softened when he gazed at Zhuo Fan. "Do you know why you have such faith in an unworthy friend? Because he is the only one worthy of it. Without him, I would have lost the one I love. I believe I cannot repay this favor for as long as I live. This is why I spoke without hesitation at the feast and put Sword Marquis's abode in the face of danger for Drifting Flowers Edifice's sake." This shocked the two overseers greatly. It now came to light that Sword Marquis's abode and Veiled Dragon Pavilion did not help them because of Drifting Flowers Edifice, but because the brat asked them to. They started to laugh dejectedly. One of the 7 noble houses, Drifting Flowers Edifice, with a history of over a millennium, had lost in terms of reputation to a random kid. If grandmother knew this, she would be flipping out right about now. "At you on the first spot," Zhuo Fan sneezed for no rhyme or reason. But for real this time. Rubbing his nose, Zhuo Fan cursed inside, "Who the hell is talking behind my back?" He looked at Vicious Pill King staring blankly. "It's gotta be this old coot cursing me," in his mind. "Don't you worry now, I will have your life soon enough." Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed with killing intent, but this time the old guy was innocent. Ever since his loss in the second round, out of anxiety except for feeling anger, he didn't dare to even curse Zhuo Fan in his mind. All who entered the third round were famous grandmasters of alchemy. He may not be up to Vicious Pill King's level, but he had refining skills to make up for it. After one failure, Yan Song could still catch up. But now he fell behind too much and there was no hope for a comeback. He now started to truly panic, but the more restless his heart was, the less he could think of a way out. Zhuo Fan laughed coldly inside, having foreseen this. In fact, the 2 failures happened all according to Zhuo Fan's plan, right when they were about to finish being refined. This also worked to make him waste the most of his time. Even if he didn't intervene in his third refining, the Vicious Pill King still wouldn't make it. Plainly speaking, Vicious Pill King lost the third round, but more importantly, he was played around like a fiddle by Zhuo Fan. Tao Danyang's eyes flashed in glee. She never would have thought Zhuo Fan capable of having Vicious Pill King kicked out of the competition. Now, regardless of who of the 2 won, Bodhi Root would stay with Drifting Flowers Edifice. Chu Qingcheng found Zhuo Fan more and more to her liking. To take Zhao Dandan's earlier words, this husband was far stronger than the last. "Got it," Vicious Pill King facepalmed out of the blue. He took out 8 silver needles in haste and stuck them in his head. Silver needle acupoint. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow and smiled. The old guy wanted to seal his hearing and avoid any disturbance. "Why didn't you do it sooner then? Yours truly needn't interfere since you're through anyway." But Vicious Pill King flashed a flame on his hand and threw ingredients in. 5th grade pill complete. And another shout came, marking the 9th finalist. The rest were also working hard. The slowest needed around 3 minutes, while the fastest ones are around half a minute. "Humph, this old coot is done for." Zhuo Fan laughed coldly while the other alchemists were getting excited. This was their chance, perhaps the only one in their lives, to beat Vicious Pill King. Suddenly a blood arrow was spat into the flame and the fire towered 10 meters high, many times stronger than before. In a blink, all the ingredients were refined. Zhuo Fan squinted. This old coot is dead serious on entering the finals to use even his blood essence. Too bad, not even this could make a pill in time. Then another blood arrow was spat, and Vicious Pill King rushed to make signs despite the blood around his mouth. In a blink, the blood turned into the shape of a pill, and the concoction resulted from refined ingredients rushed inside. A shout later, Vicious Pill King's flame grew bigger, and the lustrous blood pill came out while emitting dense energy. Vicious Pill King grabbed the pill and shouted, "Fifth grade pill complete. Fifth grade pill complete." At almost the same time, another shout echoed. Zhuo eyed the two and came to Vicious Pill King, who finished first and nodded after inspecting the pill. Elder Yan's low fifth grade pill is complete. He enters the finals. He was pulling the last silver needle when he heard her. Vicious Pill King sighed and swayed, but this did not wipe the relief on his face. From his wan face, Zhuo Fan knew he damaged his vitality. He may have qualified, but now he could refine no more. Since the 10 finalists have been decided, the rest will be eliminated. Not even looking at the pill of the alchemist who finished in close after Vicious Pill King, Zhuo shouted. This caused an uproar, one born from puzzlement as one protested. Weren't there supposed to be 20? Why only 10? Snapping a cold gaze at the speaker, Zhuo flatly explained, I never said there will be 20. It just so happened there were 20 top cauldrons prepared. Her words sent them pondering, making them realize their false preconceived notion. At the start of the meeting, the judge never once mentioned how many would enter the finals and just started the competition. But as there were 20 top spots standing out from the rest, they simply took it for granted. Realizing their own mistakes, the alchemists sighed in regret, especially the second batch of 10. They falsely assumed there was plenty of time and didn't give their all, wasting their chances. None of them considered that this was set on purpose by the Drifting Flowers edifice. An alchemist who did not strive to reach the top was unworthy to qualify. Unless, of course, he was like Zhuo Fan, with plenty of skills in their arsenal. After all, it was a universal practice to bend the rules and morals in any profession and let the strong ones in. Wait, the alchemist who finished after Vicious Pill King shouted his dissent. He was intimidated by Vicious Pill King, but soon calmed in his heart as he declared his malcontent. Judge, my pill is a top 5th grade pill, while Elder Yan's was a low 5th grade pill. We also finished close together. Reason dictates that the 10th spot ought to be mine. Quiet, it was Zhuo Fan who got ahead of Zhuo. His cold eyes stared pitilessly. Are you deaf? This round was based on speed, not quality. This is what you get when you can't even understand what is required of you. What face can you expect when you bark like a dog? Forget about who was first or last. If this old guy finished at the same time as you, he'd still be the one to qualify since he shouted first. All the alchemists were startled. Vicious Pill King and Grandmaster Song are in a life and death battle. Grandmaster Song would no doubt by jumping for joy if he could kick the old goat out. Why is Grandmaster Song speaking up for his opponent? They were confused, and so too the people on the terrace. Even Vicious Pill King eyed Zhuo Fan with a stare. Tao Danyang watched worriedly from the side. Why is this brat defending him when he was working so hard to kick him out before? Chu Qingcheng was also clueless, her angelic eyes fixed on his figure. Under everyone's rapt attention, Zhuo Fan snorted and took on a smug attitude in his berating. I know exactly what you're thinking. Indeed, yours truly wanted to kick this old guy out. But he used blood essence to refine pills twice, cutting away almost half of his life to finally win his spot. And let's not mention braving through my schemes. But even so, I will still win the Pill King round. In the meantime, I will not have this old coot fail from meaningless prattle. That would be a disgrace to me as an alchemist. Silence as the grave. Then thunderous applause dominated the air, with worshipping eyes directed at Zhuo Fan. Now this is the air of a true scholar, open, frank, and of outstanding bearing. Even Vicious Pill King started to feel a threat of respect for Zhuo Fan. He inched his withered hands and slowly clapped. Tao Danyang sighed but felt quite prideful. This brat is sinister and cruel when is needed and frank when the circumstances demand it. This is a true man, a husband worthy of that girl. Chu Qingcheng's heart exploded with love. Zhuo Dandan had long been thrilled that she was trembling. It was impossible for her not to adore such a dauntless man. Zai Tianyang and the rest nodded in admiration. Zhuo Fan was despicable, true. Unscrupulous, also true, but was not nasty, only evil, and his evil nature was embraced by his domineering character, making him an anti-hero. This man is a man of ambition, similar to myself. On the eastern stand, Huangpu Qingyun breathed out in lament. The others looked at him, then at each other in silence. Finally, it was Lin Zishan who spoke. Second young master, you took a liking to the kid and want to employ him? Absolutely not. He shook his hand. Huangpu Qingyun's eyes flashed with killing intent. A mountain is too small for 2 tigers. With his ambition, he will not deign to serve under another. He must be dealt with swiftly. Whether I get the Bodhi route or not, he must meet his end today. Huangpu Qingyun clenched his fist, his manner of unprecedented seriousness. A premonition struck me just now. He must die here today, or Regent Estate will have an archenemy. The hearts of his men shuddered. Regent Estate was the strongest of the houses and wouldn't show fear even when matched against the other 6. Why is it that the second young master evaluates this third-rate clan kid so highly? No matter how great his talent and skills were, he hadn't the power to fight against the Regent Estate. What they didn't realize was that Regent Estate's men were most skilled in grasping the heart of the people. If Huangpu Qingyun came to such a clear-cut decision regarding the kid's fate, it spoke of the possible threat Zhuo Fan could grow into and endanger Regent Estate. The men turned to watch Zhuo Fan with deep gazes. Only Lin Zishan, however, was uncaring as he flattered, "Ha ha ha, second young master is overthinking. A third-rate clan brat, regardless if he knows some ancient refining skill or if he was even a 7th-grade alchemist, this is only limited to alchemy. He can't." Huangpu Qingyun's piercing stare snapped at him. Lin Zishan stopped with a shiver. "I will say it again, this kid must die today." Huangpu Qingyun's eyes flashed with absolute conviction. The others had never seen him so determined. They could only nod as each's eyes flashed with their own resolution. In the arena, the discontent alchemist cupped his hand in shame. Grandmaster Song is indeed correct. I never had the right to enter the 10th spot. Please do forgive my careless words. Having seen Grandmaster Song's imposing manner, I feel ashamed of myself. The man gave a deep bow to Zhuo Fan and left with a lowered head. This earned more reverence from the crowd. The man was ranked 13th in the empire in alchemy, known to nitpick on anything and everything. Yet the same man submitted willingly. Grandmaster Song is of impeccable moral standing. Zhuo Fan would have cracked up if he heard them. Moral was the least fitting trait when it came to him. It was more accurate to call him of ruthless standing, beating others into submission with power rather than reason. Zioya bowed in appreciation to Zhuo Fan. She had first despised him, then was shocked by him, and now had come to respect him with something else mixed within. Zhuo Fan had no experience in this field to pick up these subtle signals. However, Chu Qingcheng was one who always followed her heart. Thus, she noticed these signals immediately and could only shake her head. An outstanding husband is not always a good thing. Too many eyes will be on him. To all grandmasters that have entered the Pill King round, congratulations. You have a chance of getting Drifting Flowers Edifice's most precious treasure, the 9th grade spirit item, Bodhi Root. Zioya smiled. I asked that everyone move to their respective spots. The last 8 alchemists started to move in order. Their ability in alchemy was clear-cut as to who was strong and who was weak. Only Vicious Pill King fell from the 2nd to the 10th spot under Zhuo Fan's relentless harassment. Hey, old guy, give up. Tao Danyang felt quite thrilled to have finally got ahead of that old coot for once. Snickering, Vicious Pill King glared at the hag and snorted, "What are you so excited about? It wasn't you who did it." Vicious Pill King looked at Zhuo Fan, now filled with a staunch desire to fight. He hadn't felt like this in decades. "Brat, I have been unequaled in alchemy all my life. But today, ha ha ha, I have traveled the continent unchecked for decades, and not once have I found one worthy of admiration. But today, ha ha ha." Laughing, Vicious Pill King slowly walked to his new spot, yet his voice was still clear. "Brat, we will have a true battle today and see who shall be the best alchemist in the empire." Shock pervaded the crowd. The arrogant Vicious Pill King, who saw no one as his equal, not even Regent Estate's leader, just acknowledged someone. On the surface, he might seem like he cared about the Regent Estate. However, deep inside he still couldn't care less about them. He was the first alchemist in the empire and had arrogance to spare. However, this time he met his match. 3 times they duked, 3 times he failed. He never suffered such a wretched defeat in his life. Yet now he was far from angry but jealous instead. It was as if he was back in his prime, filled with the thirst for battle. Tao Danyang was startled, getting the feeling he was looking at the Vicious Pill King of old. She smiled and said to Zhuo Fan, "Kid, the old coot already took you as his opponent. This is his approval of you. Since when does yours truly need his approval?" Zhuo Fan's tone was filled with coldness. "Old coot, you lost close to half of your life in the last round. Keep this up in the next one and you will fall. My life is my own. Today I will win against you." Vicious Pill King shook his hand and spoke resolutely. Raising an eyebrow, Zhuo Fan started reevaluating the old coot. Vicious Pill King no longer had the cruel and sinister manner from before, but the bearing of a true grandmaster of alchemy. "Master, are you all right? Be careful of your wounds." After changing his spot, Yan Fu rushed to Vicious Pill King and looked at him in worry. Vicious Pill King, however, didn't even acknowledge his presence. Bam. Vicious Pill King slapped his face out of the blue, sending him sprawling 3 meters away as he barked, "Humph, you dare finish before your master. Did you not see how close I was to not entering the finals? Forgive me, master. I was wrong. I would have never considered it possible for that punk to." Yan Fu crawled sullenly to Vicious Pill King, but the latter's words got stuck in his throat. Squinting, Vicious Pill King spoke icily. What were you trying to say? That the punk played me to such a miserable state. Never. Yan Fu lowered his head, sweating bullets. Shaking his head, Vicious Pill King said, What never? Yes, I was indeed played like a fiddle. Be it in alchemy or schemes, I failed on both accounts. Is there anything wrong with saying it? Even the brat admitted he could not kick me out. His plan failed, so what could I in my sorry state not dare to admit? Yan Fu was shocked. He looked up in fright as he muttered, Master, why have you changed? I have not changed, only returned. Taking a deep breath, Vicious Pill King gazed afar with eager eyes. It was unclear if he was speaking to himself or his disciple. An alchemist's mind should be set only alchemy. Success and failure are commonplace. It does not warrant covering it up. Vicious Pill King looked at Yan Fu. Disciple, do you know why I hit you? Because I dared to finish before Master and shamed you. Before Yan Fu could finish, Vicious Pill King shook his head and laughed, ha ha ha, over that small matter. I only blame you for taking a spot and almost making me lose the chance to fight a worthy opponent. I never had such an opportunity in all my life. Laughing again, Vicious Pill King ignored his disciple and went to the 10th spot. Yan Fu was startled and turned his head to look at his master. He felt his master was unlike his usual self. His master used to emphasize results above all else. Successful refining was rewarded, while failure, punishment. Under such strict guidance, he had managed to surpass Liu Yizhen's rank and become one of the top 5 alchemists in the empire. Now, his master no longer cared about results, but to have a fair match with the kid. If the kid had dared threaten Vicious Pill King's place of being the first alchemist in the empire from the start, he would have been long dealt with. A dead man, even with neat alchemy skill, wouldn't have been able to challenge him. Strange, is it because the brat helped my master out just now? Yan Fu's heart was filled with questions. He had no way of knowing it was simply a hero respecting another hero. When formidable individuals fought, they may employ devious schemes, a dog-eat-dog battle, but a win was absolute and victory brilliant. Zhuo Fan did not manage to kick out the Vicious Pill King and openly admit his loss. It is fine if he failed this time. After all, there was still the next round, which Zhuo Fan intended to dominate, but from the gossip flying around about Vicious Pill King, it would be impossible for Zhuo Fan. Naturally, Zhuo Fan did not take their words to heart. He knew that these people could be used, but never relied upon. After all, the sneaking and sinister way of a dowager had always been the weapons of the weak and the scorn of the strong. Vicious Pill King felt the same and now had his spirit aroused. He wanted to pit against Zhuo Fan in this round and win clean and perfectly so that Zhuo Fan would have no room to deny it. The battle between these two heavyweights was on the field of alchemy, yet it was also a fight to the death. On the eastern stand, Huangpu Qingyun stared at Zhuo Fan, then at Vicious Pill King. Tell me, can Elder Yan win? Of course, second young master. Lin Zishan jumped right in with a giggle. Elder Yan lost the first 3 rounds, but from the 3rd round, the brat used an ancient refining skill that is taxing on the body. His best is a 5th grade pill, while Elder Yan is a true 7th grade alchemist. It would make no sense if he lost. I see, Huangpu Qingyun nodded, but then smiled. However, Elder Lin, thank you for reminding me. You said the same thing in the last round, staking your head on Elder Lin's victory, and how did it end? Lin Zishan cursed in his heart as his smile froze. When did I ever put my head for the likes of that old coot? Isn't it you who demanded it? His only choice was to keep those words to himself and shake his head with a bright smile. Laughing, Huangpu Qingyun said, Anyway, I do not expect anything from the old man. The loss in his first round can be said it was because of that brat's tricks, but he failed the second round from P. Huangpu Qingyun shook his head but then cracked up when he recalled Yan Song's wretched look as if he swallowed a fly. All right, let's take it as the kid is quite able. But the 3rd round, a sneeze and a fart threw him back to the 10th spot. Is this still because of the kid's amazing skills? Second young master, Yan Song is usually a vicious and spiteful man. But to fail when it was most crucial makes him unworthy of bearing heavy responsibilities. The 5th elder stepped forward and started throwing stones at Yan Song. Huangpu Qingyun raised an eyebrow. Elder Lin, what do you have to say? Lin Zishan was hesitating. Second young master was clearly resentful over Yan Song's failures, but he had always stuck up for the old guy and their fates were tied. If he was a turncoat now, wouldn't the second young master never trust his words again? Lin Zishan gnashed his teeth. Since I was wrong from the start, then I'll be so till the end. I hope this will be a chance for me and that old guy. He said, Second young master, please relax. Elder Yan isn't the only one at fault because his opponent is too sinister. In this Pill King round, the requirement is definitely above the 5th grade and the kid won't win no matter how cunning he is. Elder Yan will be the one to take the first place. Huangpu Qingyun eyed him deeply. not because he found Elder Lin's words right, but that this opportunist had a loyal side. He couldn't help but secretly nod at that. Lin Zishan noticed his admiring gaze and sighed, feeling proud. This time I made the right call. Say, it's not easy sticking close to the ruling class. In the arena, Zhuo smiled at the 10 grandmasters in their respective spots and started the finals. In this Pill King round, everyone has free reign on what they make. Instead of speed, it will be the highest grade that will crown you Pill King in this 100-pill meeting. In an instant, some were worried while others were happy. Huangpu Qingyun's side laughed. It went as Lin Zishan said, with the final round based on an alchemist's true ability. Tao Danyang frowned. Zhuo Fan was in the bone-tempering stage and could only make a 5th-grade pill after giving his all. How was he going to defeat the 7th-grade alchemist Vicious Pill King now? Yet, by his appearances, Zhuo Fan seemed unconcerned. When Vicious Pill King looked at him, his eyes were filled with fighting spirit. After losing 3 rounds in a row, he figured out that the kid couldn't always rely on schemes. The refining of a 7th-grade pill at the bone-tempering stage may be pure fantasy, but humph, this kid might actually pull it off. Zhuo Fan felt the old man's eyes and waved. He didn't think the one to believe him the most ended up being his greatest opponent. Then, for the purpose of fairness, Drifting Flowers Edifice will provide high-grade ingredients for grandmasters who are missing ingredients. Zhuo clapped, and a lovely group of hundreds of disciples pushed cabinets in the arena. The cabinets contained ingredients from the lowest grade to the 7th, and even a few 8th-grade ingredients could be noticed. Swallowing dryly, everyone, especially the alchemists, were now greedily looking over the items. Like a pack of starved wolves meeting a fresh lamb, like a pack of perverts meeting a naked and gorgeous lady. Damn, Drifting Flowers Edifice is filthy rich. The sheer amount of ingredients here was not something a 3rd- and 2nd-rate clans could hope to obtain. Not even a 1st-rate clan could get them easily. I invite the grandmasters to choose the ingredients you are lacking for your refining. A word of caution, however, do not get greedy. You need to refine with all the chosen ingredients, otherwise. Zhuo's smile penetrated their deepest thoughts. Coughing lightly, the people chuckled in embarrassment, then began choosing. In no time at all, they all finished, having returned to their spots. However, Zhuo looked around and found one spot empty still. Looking at the cabinets, Zhuo Fan was there choosing, looting his booty. He didn't take his time going from one ingredient to another, but stuffed a whole cabinet in his ring and moved to the next. From the 1st grade to the 8th, he didn't miss one. The crowd was in total shock. Dude, can you not so openly rob the Drifting Flowers Edifice? Sullivan, my god, the comedy, my stomach, ha. Grandmaster Song Yu. Zhuo pursed her red lips, and despite knowing what he was doing, she couldn't outright say it. Before the 3 rounds, Zhuo Fan was nothing more than a nameless silk pants, now turned #1 famous alchemist. Some token of respect had to be present when addressing him. Even as the first in the empire, you still need to be ethical. You should not openly break the rules of 100-pill meeting. Zhuo was watching him awkwardly. She could neither stand still nor let him do what he wanted. This was a pickle. Zhuo Fan's hands paused and raised an eyebrow. Didn't you say these are for us, so which is it? Grandmaster Song, I think you misunderstood me. She explained, these are only used as complementary ingredients to the ones you have. Yeah, but I am lacking everything. Zhuo Fan resumed looting the cabinets. The crowd was speechless. You can do that? The alchemists from before were also shocked silly, thinking they should have taken some more when they had the chance. Judge, if Grandmaster Song can do it, then there's no problem if I do it too. Liu Yizhen licked his lips, looking at Zhuo Fan and Zhuo anxiously. If I don't hurry up, the kid will pick them all clean. He was a top alchemist, but he sorely lacked ingredients. Zhuo glared, Grandmaster Liu, don't make trouble. You're saying you can use them all in this round. Liu Yizhen let an awkward smile, then shook his head on his way to his spot. With how many ingredients there were, who could refine them all? He couldn't mess with Drifting Flowers Edifice. Then again, getting a couple can't hurt, right? Liu Yizhen looked again at Zhuo Fan with admiration. He was plundering the cabinets like he was moving house. Just which clan or sect does he hail? There's no way a 3rd-rate clan kid would dare perform highway robbery right under Drifting Flowers Edifice's nose. Grandmaster Song, you need to make sure you use all ingredients you are taking, or there will be serious consequences. Zhuo had gotten angry and changed her tone. Zhuo Fan's hand slowed, then smiled inside. With how many there are here, how could they be refined in one go? This amount is enough for tens of thousands of pills. Then again, so what? Once he got crowned as the Pill King, he'd take the Bodhi route and haul ass out. The Drifting Flowers Edifice could then do nothing but eat his dust. So he might as well get as many treasures as he could. They'd be breaking all ties at the end, and it would be such a waste to leave these beauties lying here. Slowly turning his head, Zhuo Fan grinned. How do you know I won't be using them all? I'll do it in a jiffy, don't you worry your pretty little head about it. He then resumed his shameless picking. Zhuo was close to crying. She never saw a more vile grandmaster in her life. Refining tens of thousands of pills on the spot, as if this was daylight robbery. The crowd watched the darkest horse in this arena, who had displayed alchemy skills more outstanding than even vicious Pill King, now robbing the cabinets of ingredients. To think this grandmaster has balls to rob Drifting Flower's edifice. Yet, Drifting Flower's edifice did not even try removing him from the premises. After all, who told them to give the alchemists free rein? And what if someone insisted he could refine thousands upon thousands of pills? Although far-fetched, that's beside the point. You can only settle this after the competition. Zhuo waited bitterly for Zhuo Fan to load up his ring. When he stopped, Zhuo was overjoyed and smiled. Grandmaster Song, are you ready? Then please return to your spot and begin refining. Everyone is waiting for you. Frowning, Zhuo Fan turned to Zhuo and his ring flashed. My storage ring is packed, can you bring me another? Staggering, Zhuo was about to collapse. The audience's faces froze. Grandmaster Song, you're too shameless. No, Drifting Flower's edifice does not provide storage rings. Zhuo roared, glancing at her. Zhuo Fan snorted helplessly. What 7 noble houses, so stingy? Zhuo was close to spurting blood. Thank God she choked on words and the blood stayed inside. She glared at Zhuo Fan with such hatred that she wished she could tear him limb from limb. You took advantage of us and still dares to call us stingy. Is there anyone in the world more shameless than you? Looking at the cabinets, most of them were empty, leaving only the first and second grade ingredients behind. Zhuo was this close to bursting into tears. These ingredients took Drifting Flower's edifice a whole year to gather. Some of them were close to 100 years old before being harvested. Yet all of them were swept clean by a damn punk. Drifting Flower's edifice aimed to show off their power by letting the participants choose their ingredients. But then this fool came around and nabbed them all. Just you wait, brat. If you don't bake 10,000 pills, I will tear you a new one. Zhuo glared with all her power at Zhuo Fan to comfort her bleeding heart. Her slight, almost ephemeral respect she had for him before now burned in the flames of rage and hatred. This punk is a rogue. Zhuo Fan had better things to do than care about her opinion. He scratched his nose and went to his spot. What is fame when tangible stuff is more valuable, he. On the terrace, Zai Tianyang was piqued by his actions, then asked, Elder Zhu, I heard you and the brat came to become allies. All his ingredients must be coming from Veiled Dragon Pavilion. Why is it that he looks so miserably poor? He was even moved by those first-grade ingredients. Humph, when talking about greedy people, even a needle on the ground can move them. Long Kui berated. Zai Tianyang raised an eyebrow and thought, well, that's quite true. With this brat's character, everywhere he goes, not even grass is left. Long Ju muttered under his breath, but actually agreed with Long Kui's assessment. What little Kui said isn't without wisdom. This brat sure is greedy. Veiled Dragon Pavilion may be his ally, but we can't just give him our best ingredients. We can only provide 4th grade at most. But for some reason, the attendant in charge of giving him ingredients suddenly gave 5th grade ingredients too, and lots of them. We later questioned the old and loyal attendant, but he would rather take the blame for sneaking the ingredients out than to say anything. Ha ha ha, that brat sure has a way with people, Long Ju chuckled. His eyes, however, were especially dignified. Zai Tianyang muttered, damn, I know this brat is vicious to everyone, enemy and friend alike. But he can even dig out Veiled Dragon Pavilion cornerstones. That's not quite right. The attendant is still fine, working for our house as we speak. Even he doesn't know what got into him at that time to help that brat out. Shuddering, Zai Tianyang and Jian Suifeng looked at each other as they sank in deep thought. They who had a certain understanding of Zhuo Fan now revised their opinion of him. We must not by any means act too friendly with him when we interact, or he'll dig out everything from our house. The overseers were too focused on what happened in the arena to pay attention to their discussion. With every empty cabinet, their hearts bled harder. As the son-in-law to Drifting Flower's edifices, he shows not the least restraint when taking our things, but he even goes as far as not leaving anything. Chu Qingcheng's angelic eyes now had a rare hint of killing intent. Rotten brat isn't what's yours mine. What are you taking everything for? You'll soon be returning them anyway. Zhuo took a few deep breaths to push her anger down. Boring her eyes into Zhuo Fan, she shouted at the 10 participants, with everyone ready, the Pill King round shall begin. Yuan Qi flames were ignited one after the other. Zhuo Fan was unmoving, however. Zhuo gnashed her teeth and spat. Grandmaster Song, don't forget, you have to refine all the ingredients. Snorting, Zhuo Fan had a smile of disdain. You daft, I ain't that stupid. Wait for me to be crowned Pill King, take my prize, then skip town. What will you do then? Boom, like a roar of a huge beast, the sound from a blood-colored flame shook everything as it reached the heavens. The instant it appeared, the alchemists close to it had their flames shriveled up. Squinting, Zhuo Fan laughed coldly inside. Humph, that old coot finally plans to show his true skill. This, Zhuo jumped in fright from the sudden strange flame and turned in its direction. Liu Yizhen smoothed his beard as he gave a chuckling apology to his fellow alchemists behind him. Ha ha ha, terribly sorry, it is the finals and I must give it my all. Do forgive me if I offend anyone. No matter how polite he made it sound, his eyes couldn't hide the pride he felt. The alchemists swallowed dryly and eyed the towering flame and then, to their own lifeless yuan qi kindle, feeling more and more despondent. How were they supposed to compete when another just snuffed out their efforts? They watched him with hatred in their hearts but also envy. Just where did this old guy get that flame from anyways? With that flame, his refining might reach the 6th grade. Zhuo's eyes lit up and cried, Grandmaster Liu's flame must be from a 4th-level spiritual beast, the sky-blazing python's heart fire. I heard the sky-blazing python spends its time moving underground and its core is influenced by the earth's fire. It is so hot it can melt anything. No ingredient on this land cannot be refined with it. Grandmaster Liu must have been holding on to it for the final round. Ha ha ha, you sure are knowledgeable, girl. No wonder you're the judge. But besides a flame, one must also make use of an intricate refining skill. I have taken out this flame to increase my rank. However, I dare not aim for the crown. Liu Yizhen shook his hand with modesty, but his pride was no different from one who thought of himself as the next pill king. Hypocrite, cursed the crowd, in particular the alchemists who only had yuan qi flames and were influenced by the mighty blaze. He had a reason to be smug, of course, with how strong his 4th-level spiritual beast flame was. It not only increased his refining, but also slowed down the others, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. With such a flame, if 2 people were of equal levels, one would have his refining boosted by 2 grades. His confidence was well placed. Even you, vicious pill king, my flame will lower you from 7th grade to 6th. Everyone could make this educated guess just from looking at the faltering flames around him. Just when the crowd was focused on the battle between Vicious Pill King and Zhuo Fan, it had now gotten even more confusing to whom the crown would place their bets on. Zhuo sighed and watched Liu Yizhen in admiration. He was the true black horse of the 100-pill meeting. He hit it well. She couldn't help asking this, though. Grandmaster Liu, I heard that sky-blazing python is very rare and strong as a profound heaven expert. May I ask how you obtained its core's flame? Ha ha ha, that time was truly dangerous. About a year ago. Humph, you're so cocky with just a stinking snake flame. Just as Liu Yizhen was about to retell his grand and historical venture of the endless trials of hardship he had to go through, a snort stopped him short. Then, marked by a humming, a small bluish flame flickered into existence. Its appearance cut the size of all yuan qi flames in half. What was even more astounding was the fact that even Liu Yizhen's beast core flame shuddered as it turned lifeless. Crying out in shock, Liu Yizhen turned to find Yan Fu holding a raging dark blue fire and sporting a condescending smile. This, Zhuo cried, is this a 5th-level spiritual beast flame from the fire swallow? Indeed, Yan Fu laughed coldly and mocked Liu Yizhen. I have bested you in the imperial capital, old Liu, and I will do it again today. Don't get carried away in thinking the Pill King title is yours. Ha ha ha, how laughable. You think you're the only one in this world with a special flame? Beet red, Liu Yizhen felt his anger boil but had no leeway to complain. He had to admit that a top alchemist was more than capable of getting himself a 4th-level spiritual beast flame, the least of all Yan Fu, who was Pill King Hall's core disciple. I was too naive. In the end, who could compare with the 7 noble houses? Liu Yizhen gave a wistful sigh. Before he could rise completely, another one came to knock him down to his place. Now recalling the smug look from before, it only worked to color his face red. Young Master Yan, Fire Swallow is a 5th-level spiritual beast that even Radiant Stage experts have trouble defeating. How did you get its flame? Zhuo's eyes were riveted on the flame. Grinning, Yan Fu swept his eyes over Tao Danyang and the rest of Drifting Flowers Edifice's female disciples and laughed. This flame was bestowed by Pill King Hall to me, the greatest of its disciples. As for how, Humph, Pill King Hall needs only to want something and it will soon have it. His words didn't reach the average disciple because of the competition's noise, but Chu King Chang and her overseers heard it clearly and glared at him. Even Tao Danyang's green face turned gloomy and terrifying, but he couldn't care less as he began introducing it in his arrogance. Alchemy is the balance of yin and yang. Old Liu's flame may perhaps be from a 4th-level spiritual beast, but the earth fire is too violent, unfit for refining pills. My flame, on the contrary, is fire, yet it holds some water. It is also water, yet it contains fire. Thus fire and water combine and yin and yang intertwine. It is the most fitting flame for alchemy. and only Pill King Hall's men know how to find such a flame, and so the only ones who can be Pill King is. Suddenly, a green flame appeared before him. The common Yuan Qi flames shrunk again, and Liu Yizhen with Yan Fu's spiritual beast flames were also cut down to size. Emerging like a beast king from deep in the mountains, the other flames prostrated before it. Yan Fu squinted and looked at Tao Danyang's green flame in shock. Why you? That, humph, your fire swallow flame is best suited for alchemy. You will first have to ask this 6th level spiritual beast flame of mine, the Moon Fire Falcon's flame. What, a 6th level spiritual beast? This caused widespread shock. Not even a radiant stage expert would dare mess with such a being. Just how did Tao Danyang get hold of this marvel? Zioya grew happy inside. Tao Danyang was from Drifting Flower's edifice after all and praised, Aunt Tao, how did you obtain the flame of a 6th level spiritual beast? Humph, girl, why ask when you already know? You think my old body has the skill to go pull the life fire from the belly of a 6th level spiritual beast? Tao Danyang cursed as she eyed Yan Fu, then the further away vicious Pill King. Trying to shake Drifting Flower's edifice's prestige, then she shouted, this is a fire is passed down in the Drifting Flower's edifice to its best alchemist. Girl, remember, this is not a flame that can be sought. The Moon Fire Falcon flies 30 kilometers above and comes out at night to absorb the moon's yin while eating the spiritual herbs in the mountains. This makes its flame have the essence of the moon. It can increase the grade of a pill in refining. How can a mere fire swallow's flame compare to it? Under the guise of teaching Zioya, Tao Danyang was in fact speaking loudly to jab at Yan Fu. Yan Fu gnashed his teeth but kept silent. A 5th level beast flame was a cut short compared to a 6th level beast flame. Not to mention, the Moon Fire Falcon ate many spiritual herbs in its life, making it far stronger than Fire Swallow. This ultimately made it unfit for comparison. Tao Danyang stuck her chin out in pride and mocked. Pill King title is only fit for Pill King Hall, is it? Humph, punk, be careful of making too big a boost and unable to back it up. Shuddering, Yan Fu glared at her as he barked, old hag, don't get too happy. I am just a junior, not your match in alchemy. But don't forget, I'm not the best alchemist in Pill King Hall. My master, Vicious Pill King, is. Yan Fu turned to Vicious Pill King and shouted, Master, open the eyes of these ignorant fools and let them see your true strength. The people turned their attention to Vicious Pill King, waiting for the best alchemist in the empire to let out his best skill. Only the few Grandmaster alchemists who used Yuan Qi flames felt like crying looking at the puny flames in their hands. Grandmasters, you're all so rich you all have beast flames. But we are dirt poor, using the weakest flame made of Yuan Qi. Have some mercy and don't take out an even more amazing flame, or our Yuan Qi flames won't take it. We won't even be able to cook rice, let alone pills. Fu's call echoed in everyone's ears, but Vicious Pill King seemed oblivious, his eyes fixed on one place only. It happened even at Yan Fu's second call. Following his sight, what lay at the end was the first spot where Zhuo Fan stood with his arms crossed and eyes closed. In Vicious Pill King's eyes, this opponent was the only one who could light his competitive spirit. Taking a deep breath, Vicious Pill King shouted, Kid, don't you have any other special skills in store for this final round? Flashing his eyes open, Zhuo Fan shot him a look and snorted, if yours truly has or not, what's it to you? Quite a lot, actually. I want to have a showdown with you, a fair competition. If you're still hiding your skills, then I shall be using the flame that had been with me for years to win. But if this is all you had to offer, I won't take advantage of your plight. Even keeping my flame hidden, I can still beat you just with a plain Yuan Qi flame. Such bold words, the people's hearts shivered, their faces gloomy. If Vicious Pill King said this before, none would have anything to comment. Just who could beat the best alchemist in the empire? But now, after losing to Zhuo Fan 3 times, his words were akin to an empty boast. Oh please, don't you recall how Grandmaster Song pissed, sneezed, and farted you out of the second spot? If not for wasting half of your shriveled life, you'd never even be in this round. It happened just a few minutes ago. Did you go senile, you old coot? Not only Chu King Cheng looked derisory at him, but the rest of the audience as well. But Vicious Pill King only had eyes for Zhuo Fan. Anything else, even the despising glances directed to him, were of no consequence. Zhuo Fan squinted and snorted, humph, then let yours truly enlighten you. I indeed have hidden one skill. Don't you worry your old little head about it and go all out. The title of Pill King will be mine regardless. Ha ha ha, all right, then I shall rest easy. You are the first opponent in decades that can make me exert all my ability in alchemy. Please, after you. Raising an eyebrow, Zhuo Fan asked, why do you want me to go first? Shouldn't we both do it at the same time? With an ambiguous smile, Vicious Pill King showed a proud expression. Youngster, I'm not bragging when I say that even with your great refining skill, you won't finish that pill once I let out this old flame of mine. In hope that you can exert your best, I will start after you finish. It wouldn't matter if I finish a bit later. This round is based on the grade after all. Zhuo Fan's mouth perked at one corner and almost laughed. The old coot has total confidence in his flame, but so did he in regards to his Azure flame, his secret weapon. Just that it got him wondering which was stronger, his Azure flame or the old coot's, there is no doubt. Mine is better. It was one of those treasures that the demonic emperor would covet. Smiling, he said, since Elder Yan is so sure, by all means, take out your flame and let us all widen our horizons. While also letting me know if I should just give up right now. Yeah, master, just let them see your might, Yan Fu cheered. Laughing, Vicious Pill King never felt more excited as of this moment. If you want to see it so much, then here it is. With a cackling laughter, a white fire burned in Vicious Pill King's thin hand. Then a wicked face appeared within the flame. That cackling laughter actually came from it. Its appearance snuffed out all the Yuan Qi flames around. Liu Yizhen, Yan Fu, and Tao Danyang's beast flames acted as if something dreadful appeared and shrank to half their size, as if prostrating before their king. Shock was an understatement, as even Zhuo Fan's eyelids trembled. Who knew this old guy was actually hiding something so valuable? This. Tao Danyang was scared out of her mind. Yan Fu raised his head in pride and laughed. Do you see that? This is the flame master chanced upon a decade ago, the heaven and earth spirit flame, bone soul true fear. A heaven and earth spirit flame. SSS. Those words evoked gasps of sheer amazement from all around. The people watched the evil face in Vicious Pill King's hand and their hearts sighed. Even the alchemical disinclined knew that the heaven and earth spirit flame was made from gathered spiritual energy of heaven and earth that over millions of years and had gained spirituality. The flame was actually alive, a veritable king among flames. The 5th and 6th level beast flames were nothing compared to it. The flame was the body, while the wicked face was the spirit of the bone soul true fire. It not only could refine any kind of ingredient, but also amplify their effects and raise the grade of the pill. It was every alchemist's dream to have one. Vicious Pill King was the best alchemist in Tianyu for a reason after all. Now, no matter what secret refining skill Zhuo Fan used, it would be of no importance. Did you not see how the Yuan Qi flames got snuffed? They couldn't stand its power. Even those beast flames were shirking away. 3 things were of most importance to an alchemist: cultivation, refining skills, and flame. When the flame was wilted from the pressure of another, winning was impossible. Sighing, the people turned to Zhuo Fan, shaking their heads in pity. How sad an extraordinary alchemist was so close to beating the best alchemist in Tianyu, but under the flame's suppression, failure is imminent. If he fails here, we will lose another genius. The heavens must be truly jealous of geniuses. The thought didn't even cross their mind if Zhuo Fan, with how young he was and his background, had a flame that could counter Vicious Pill King's heaven and earth spirit flame. Since not even the 7 houses could pass along such flames, this old guy's luck had to be off the charts to stumble upon the bone soul true fear. Sensing everyone's fear and awe of it, the white flame's face cackled madly in excitement. The laughter was jarring to the ear and filled with boundless despise, just like a ruler who won and lorded over his enemies. He. Tao Danyang sighed and closed her eyes. If she knew the old man to have such a spirit item, she wouldn't have wasted her energy and just gave up. Then again, now that she recalled, the one who won 3 times against Vicious Pill King was none other than him. Tao Danyang turned to Zhuo Fan and shook her head. Not even the brat can get out of this one. Chu Qingcheng frowned in worry. She was looking at Zhuo in hope he had a way to turn it all around, but Zhuo Fan's face never wavered. He was always calm, as if he was in deep thought. The overseers were beside themselves in worry. Only Long Jiu's group was unfazed. According to Zhuo Fan's plan, winning wasn't a must. At worst, he'd just bolt. On the eastern stand, Huangpu Qingyun's group had long since started laughing. The old man actually had such a treasure hidden. Losing now is impossible, ha ha ha. Huangpu Qingyun laughed. Vicious Pill King is definitely worthy of his title. The others nodded, with the happiest being Lin Zishan. At some point, he tied his fate with Vicious Pill King over a reason not he was sure of. But now that Vicious Pill King was at an advantage, the second young master was excited, and he was basking in the glory nearby. Elder Lin, Huangpu Qingyun smiled. Lin Zishan rushed next to him. Yes, the moment the kid loses, rush over and take his head. Understand, startled Lin Zishan said. Why me? Isn't Elder Yan supposed to do this? Squinting, Huangpu Qingyun snorted. If he were to move, King Cheng would be sure to block him. I do not wish to further alienate her from me. Your Mary Woods is focusing on speed, so taking the kid's head in an instant is easy. King Cheng would be enraged, but would not dare to make everything worse over a dead man. Realizing what he meant, Lin Zishan gave a thumbs up. Nice, second young master is truly wise. The other men felt their stomachs churning as they secretly cursed at him for being shameless. Huangpu Qingyun's smile seemed to say everything was dancing in his palm. But just then the crowd froze in shock, seeing Vicious Pill King's flame swayed around Zhu as he laughed. Ha ha ha, brat, now you know why I told you to go first. Even if you have a beast flame, it won't do you any good with my bone soul true fire out. Didn't you want to get your hands on the Bodhi root? Zhuo Fan was still calm. Taking a deep breath, Vicious Pill King seemed to recall something and laughed. Yes, I indeed want it. But what I want more is to win against you fair and square, to see who among us shall be the best alchemist in Tianyu. Defeating you because of the flame's power is not something I will ever accept. Zhuo Fan looked long at him. He may be shameless and despicable, cunning and vicious, but when all is said and done, he is a tough grandmaster alchemist. It's kind of a pity for him to be in the Pill King Hall. A wicked grin plastered on his face. Zhuo Fan seemed to have something special in store. Yan Fu's heart seized. He understood his master's intention and wanted to advise against it, but Vicious Pill King shook his hand. Did the old fart turn senile? Hyungpu Qingyan sensed the situation spiraling into an undesirable direction and clenched his fists. Lin Zishan wiped the cold sweat from his brows. His mind was on edge. Old coot. You're vile and wicked, so why the hell are you doing the exact opposite at a crucial time like this? Cut the righteous act. Both our lives are at stake here. Catching the Eastern People's reaction with a side glance, Zhuo Fan swiveled his eyes on Vicious Pill King. Old man, I appreciate the thought, but there really is no need for that. It's best you go ahead and refine. Vicious Pill King stared at Zhuo Fan in astonishment. Zhuo Fan's words were backed by unfaltering confidence. He did not propose to do it together and see who was stronger, but directly urged Yan Song to go fist. Does he have an even stronger flame than Bone Soul True Fire? He fears that his flame will affect my own. Vicious Pill King's heart trembled, but he couldn't find it in himself to believe that the world could house a stronger flame than the heaven and earth spirit flame. Ha ha ha, youngster, don't brag. Taking your age and background into account, the most you can afford is a 4th level beast flame. You think it's enough to stand toe-to-toe with mine? Vicious Pill King was probing Zhuo Fan, who only smiled. Such action only made Zhuo Fan look more mysterious that even the rest were at a loss for words. You're telling us that Grandmaster Song has a mystical flame that can stand against your Bone Soul True Fire. This would make the final round more exciting. 2 Grandmasters, 2 heaven and earth spirit flames fighting toe-to-toe for the crown. In a blink, the crowd's nervous eyes landed on Zhuo Fan, eagerly awaiting his answer. Chu Qingcheng and the overseers were especially nervous. In terms of refining skills, Zhuo Fan was a cut above Yan Song. Coupled with a possible heaven and earth spirit flame, this could all work to compensate for his weak cultivation. Only Zai Tianyang felt disdained as he laughed. Don't go and believe his hoshposh people. That brat is up to his neck and faking again. He is in a battle of minds with the old man. I've seen this trick too many times to count. Long Jiu and the rest nodded. With how deep and twisted the kid's plans went, it was very much plausible to be a tactic of his to unnerve Yan Song. Today's events proved it. Yan Song himself suffered at Zhuo Fan's schemes again and again, making him grow cautious. After some careful thought, he laughed. Kid, I am frank with you, but yet you still use such petty tricks to mess with my head. The same tactic won't work on me again. What makes you think I am? Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. Humph, by no means do you have a heaven and earth spirit flame, perhaps not even a beast flame. You are only pretending so as to disturb my mind. You used these cheap tricks in the previous 2 rounds already, and you want to do it again. Shaking his head, Zhuo Fan sighed. Vicious Pill King, you have such a low opinion of me. You take yours truly as nothing but a vicious and petty schemer, whose plans only amount to lying about having a heaven and earth spirit flame to mess with your head. Is that what you think my plans amount to? I'm hurt. Pausing, Vicious Pill King realized it was indeed so. Zhuo Fan may have sneezed and farted, nothing but petty tricks, but it hit right when it hurt him the most. Each and every time, his focus crumbled at the most crucial moment. If his mind was not as strong, he would have long devolved into chaos, unable to continue refining. Compared to the last 2 times, Zhuo Fan's words now were a bit disbelieving, but not enough to affect his mind. This only threw Vicious Pill King into even deeper confusion. In his eyes, Zhuo Fan had become an enigma, whose every gesture and random act were filled with intricate mysteries. Never had he encountered such a baffling opponent in his life. Damn it, who'd have thought picking a fight with this punk would end up becoming a torment? Vicious Pill King couldn't come to a conclusion even after some long and hard thinking. He just gnashed his teeth in the end and howled, "Brat, no matter what flame you have, take it out. I want to have a fair match with you, so stop jumping at every shadow. It is because I have the same wish that I do not want to reveal it. I still insist on letting you go first." Zhuo Fan sneered. "If I do take it out, you might lose your desire to even compete. Starting together would end in your loss, no doubt about it." His words sounded even more cocksure than Vicious Pill King's from before. They were so outrageous that none of the people there believed him. A flame that can cow the best alchemist in the empire to surrender just at the sight of it. Does it even exist? Not even Vicious Pill King was that outrageous before pulling out his white flame. Dude, take a closer look. He holds the Lord of the Flames, a heaven and earth spirit flame. Even if you have the same kind of fire, it will only result in a tie, even if by some off chance it is stronger. How much could it actually be compared to Yan Song's? You're saying your flame is so freakish that it can suppress a heaven and earth spirit flame just as the latter suppresses beast flames. Did the world even have such a thing? Humph. He's clearly faking and bragging, yet none of his words sound believable. Zai Tianyang mocked. Vicious Pill King laughed. Kid, you take me for a 3-year-old. The world does not have such a savage flame. If you can take it out, then I will directly kowtow 3. Suddenly, his voice was choked with the appearance of an azure flame above 2 of Zhuo Fan's fingers. It was as calm as candlelight, unimpressive in the slightest, but this plain azure flame descended on the world like a monarch. Its invisible pressure befell like a mountain. The cackling bone soul truther now seemed to have found its nemesis and scurried back into Vicious Pill King's body, never to come out again. Not even at Vicious Pill King's incessant urgings. If a heaven and earth spirit flame was so decisive, then Liu Yizhen's, Yan Fu's, and Tao Danyang's beast flames were even worse. They had no spirituality, but they nonetheless trembled under the azure fire's pressure and died out. When the monarch of flames descended, no common flame dared to burn. All the fires died out in a blink, even the other alchemists. Only Zhuo Fan's frail azure flame let out a soft glow. The shock was incomprehensible. Even Vicious Pill King stared slack-jawed. What is this? The heaven and earth spirit flame ran. Vicious Pill King's body was swaying. He was the owner of Bone Soul Trufire and could feel it shivering in fear. What flame is that? Zhuo Fan looked at his azure flame with a smile. Who knows? It's been given to me anyway. His cheeks twitching, Vicious Pill King trembled. Why is it that I wasn't lucky enough to have someone give me such a strong flame? When he chanced upon the Bone Soul Trufire, he'd been so thrilled he couldn't sleep a wink for how much fortune smiled upon him. He could have died happy, but here now in Zhuo Fan's presence, his bit of luck was lackluster, to say the least. Now, do you still want to refine? Zhuo Fan snickered, letting the azure flame sway in front of him. Vicious Pill King's eyes reddened from envy. How the hell could he still refine? His entire mind was set on that frail flame. He was almost consumed by the desire to just seize it. Zhuo Fan laughed, knowing perfectly well what Yan Song was thinking. Now do you believe me? Well then, Vicious Pill King, let me ask you, who's the petty one? Vicious Pill King felt like crying. Goddammit, this punk is unfathomable. 3 rounds ago he spoke not a grain of truth, and now he said the most unbelievable things, yet it turns out to be the whole and unfurnished truth. Curses, his plots are too sinister for me to unravel. Despite being filled with regret, Vicious Pill King still reddened as he admitted, "Pardon me, Grandmaster Song. I have wrongly mistaken a gentleman for being petty. Ha ha ha, lighten up, it's enough to know that I'm a perfect gentleman." Zhuo Fan laughed and not only made the old man redden harder from shame but even flaunted, "Then, wanna go ahead and refine? Or maybe together, you joking, refine with you, how when any and all flames were snuffed because of yours. I get why this punk said there was no competition if both refined together." Vicious Pill King sighed and admitted it despite the humiliation it brought. "Pardons, Grandmaster Song. I was overconfident. I shall go ahead and refine first. All right, with my generous nature, I shall let you begin." Zhuo Fan smiled and took back his azure flame while crossing his arms. Even so, he couldn't help himself from muttering, "Stingy, how unreasonable." His voice may have been soft, but all heard him. Vicious Pill King staggered. He was truly pissed, but felt more aggrieved than anything else. "I rarely want a fair fight, and what do I get? Humiliation. Being good is not all that cracked up to be." He was oblivious, though, that as he was feeling sorry for himself. Zhuo Fan nodded in his mind, and his mouth widened into a broad and satisfied smile. Translator, star reader, editor, Sullivan, holy cow, he wasn't faking. The brat did have a card up his sleeve. On the terrace, Zai Tianyang stumbled. Then it hit him, right, he used the same azure flame against Yugiki too. I took it as some martial art at the time, but now I see that it's actually a heaven and earth treasure. It all made sense now, how he faced Hell Valley's profound ranked martial art and easily overcame it. The azure flame could easily handle a heaven and earth spirit flame, so it was only natural to be able to deal with Yugiki's wicked skill. Zai Tianyang found himself looking at Long Jiu. This brat has so much stuff on him that makes him a walking treasury. Are you sure he's only a third-rate clan kid? Why are you looking at me for? I'm as clueless as you are. Long Jiu snorted, then kept watching Zhuo Fan. Veiled Dragon Pavilion had looked again and again into Zhuo Fan's history, but they always came with the same answer. A servant that never left the Luo clan. Yet the night of the Luo clan's demise marked his complete change. A mere servant took the four-membered Luo clan and pulled it through the crisis. Along the path of remarkable wisdom and deep schemes, he changed the fate of the Luo clan, turning it into a future opponent for the seven noble houses. Veiled Dragon Pavilion weren't fools, of course, especially Long Zhu. Their new hatred for Hell Valley was all because Zhuo Fan instigated it. Yet even so, they were willing to take this burden for him. First, just as Zhuo Fan predicted, Veiled Dragon Pavilion was not about to show weakness before their archenemy Hell Valley. With how deep their hatred was, adding one more debt was of little concern. Not to mention, in the great battle of Wingay's city, making them carry the killing of those two elders was in fact a favor. Even when he was summoned by the Emperor, the Pavilion Lord was grinning from ear to ear. It had been years since Pavilion Lord was this excited. And secondly, Zhuo Fan's power shocked every one of them to the marrow. Even Veiled Dragon Pavilion's highly ranked men started discussing with Zhuo Fan when he was but a chi condensation cultivator. None of them could have come with a more perfect plan than his. Sowing dissension, escaping, bidding his time to land the final blow, it all may have seemed simple tactics, but their execution would have been far from his. This was something easily understood by reading the two houses' millennia-long feud. Moreover, Zhuo Fan was very skilled. Not only he could set up a fifth-grade array, but he also had many long-lost ancient arrays. After so many miracles, Pavilion Lord's quick decision to cooperate with Zhuo Fan was met with no objection. And that was only because this kid's actions left everyone unable to unravel his true purpose. From the looks of it, Zhuo Fan's change seemed to have started from that fateful night. Before it, he was just an honest-to-God and shy servant. After it, he changed into the sinister and cunning steward that none in the seven houses could compare with. That night was the crux, but what did happen that night? Taking a deep breath, Long Zhu was filled with confusion trying to pick some hints by looking at the smug figure, only to sigh in the end. He may very well be the only one who knows the answer to this riddle. Totally oblivious of Long Zhu Group's comments, the overseers had long been skipping in joy at seeing Vicious Pill King taken down a peg again. Just like some 16-year-old girls blushing to the ears. This was the finals after all. Pushing the old man back would help in increasing his chance of winning it. Zhuo Dandan had never seen her senior aunt and master so happy in her life. She knew they were happy, and so was she, raising her pretty face in pride, as if to tell the world, here comes my man. As Chu Qingcheng saw that figure growing in authority, her heart grew with love, though still reserved enough not to be so frank about it as Zhuo Dandan. But her eyes couldn't hide the warmth and feelings she had for him. On the eastern stand, Huangpu Qingyun's elegant visage was now twisted in rage. Even the most oblivious of his men could see he was best left alone if they valued their life. But did that mean he wouldn't come to you by himself? Elder Lin, Huangpu Qingyun squinted and snapped. Lin Zishan shivered and stood at attention, though his heart was on the verge of crying. Second young master orders, didn't you promise me that the old fool will win? Well, where is his win? He quoted fairness and offered to let the punk refine first, only to be shamed further. What fairness? He wouldn't have brought more shame on himself if someone else did that to him. Second young master, Elder Yan isn't the only one at fault. Lin Zishan spoke over Huangpu Qingyun to curb his anger, or he would have been sent into the fray sooner than needed. At that time, that bastard Vicious Pill King would have been long gone and he unable to deal with the kid alone. To safeguard his life, he had to speak up. He continued anxiously, second young master, you saw it too. It's not Elder Yan who is powerless, but that punk is just too freakish. Lin Zishan stammered for a long time before coming with an apt description. The heaven and earth spirit flame is the lord of the flames. But who saw it coming that the brat would pull an even more freakish flame, rendering the lord of the flames inferior? None of us did. Huangpu Qingyun rose his hand at first, but soon put it down. He had calmed down somewhat after those words, though his calmness was one that inspired fear. He looked at Zhuo Fan. Indeed, this is not on Elder Yan, but all because that brat is too strong. This was the first time Huangpu Qingyun admitted Zhuo Fan's strength. His men trembled. Their second young master was a man of immense pride who never acknowledged anyone. Yet here he was praising someone for their strength and was also quite sincere at it. Perhaps Huangpu Qingyun's anger wasn't because of Yan Song's setback, but his unwillingness to admit someone could have the same authority as him. This was something a proud and domineering man like himself would never allow to happen. Therefore, they all looked at Zhuo Fan as if he was already dead. And sure enough, Huangpu Qingyun followed with, Elder Lin, there's no need to act anymore. I will kill that brat myself. Then what of Edifice Lord Chu? Huangpu Qingyun's eyes flashed with naked killing intent. I want to avoid fighting with King Cheng, but I can never find peace until I kill the kid myself. His men's hearts shivered as they nodded. Whoosh! Vicious Pill King let out his white flame again, and Zhao Ye rushed to stop him. Forgive me, Elder Yan, but because of your flame and the beast flames, the other alchemists can't refine. So to give a fair judgment, I can only ask all of you to refine one at a time, from weak to strong. Humph, you want me to give way to them? Vicious Pill King snored. Why should I? It won't matter even if my flame doesn't affect them. They don't rise to even one hair of mine. Giving way to them means wasting my time. Tao Danyang grew angry and glared at him. Yan Fu snickered at the side, finding it only natural. His master was the best in the empire, except the unknown kid that sprung up from who knew where. Who else could match his master? The alchemists, Liu Yizhen included, were livid, but facts were facts. They had no ways to refute Vicious Pill King and could only sigh. Zhao Ye found herself in a tight spot. What was planned to be the finals between 10 people now became a clash of 2. Were the other 8 alchemists mere decorations to make them look good? What was the point of getting this far then? Too bad Vicious Pill King was the best alchemist in the empire and was dead set on his decision. The judge could do nothing. In Zhao Ye's moment of anxiety and stomping, a lazy voice echoed. Old man, since it's a competition, give them a chance. Why do you have to be so hard? This startled everyone and turned to see Zhuo Fan still with his arms crossed and eyes closed, but smiling nonetheless. Frowning, Vicious Pill King muttered, then withdrew his flame. Those alchemists who had it rough with just their yuan chi flames were overjoyed, while the others looked at Vicious Pill King dumbfounded. Even Yan Fu looked at Vicious Pill King as if he wasn't his master. Since when did his prideful master secede just like that because someone said so? This is mortifying. But the fact was, one word from Zhuo Fan was enough to make the grand and arrogant Vicious Pill King renounce his pride. What's going on? Did the old man get a personality change? Up in the eastern stand, Hell Valley's 5th elder was filled with puzzlement like everyone else. What they didn't notice, however, was Huangpu Qingyun's even thicker killing intent. Perhaps he was the sole person here who understood authority. It was what made others submit completely. He wielded the same authority, an obvious fact from the people around him that listened to his orders without question. But this authority was bestowed by Regent Estate. As these men submitted to Regent Estate's power, he could only thus order them. More clearly stated, they spoke yes while their hearts were against it. Only Huangpu Qingyun understood that Zhuo Fan had become the man with the most authority here, and his authority was based on the true submission of everyone present. Vicious Pill King was the perfect example, seceding with just some words. It was all because from the very beginning he grasped everyone's hearts, letting them take one step at a time in growing their faith in him. This was the true way of the ruling class in seizing authority. At first, Huangpu Qingyun's killing intent at Zhuo Fan was rather hazy. He guessed it was because of a conflict of interest, but now he clearly wanted Zhuo Fan dead. After Lin Zishan spoke and Zhuo Fan showed a monarchic flame, he understood perfectly why Zhuo Fan had to die. He wasn't as narrow-minded as others thought him to be, that he couldn't stand someone more powerful than him. His decision to kill Zhuo Fan was because of the feeling he got from the latter. Every time Zhuo Fan did something, it was like an open challenge to his authority. How could a regent's authority be so easily challenged? A mountain wasn't big enough for 2 tigers. With 2 people knowing the way to grasp the hearts of the people, they would fight over authority, and only one would come out victorious. Zhuo Fan had long noticed the killing intent coming from the eastern stand, but he was unfazed as ever, even sporting a scornful grin.